They say.
All right, you're good.
Hi, hello and welcome to the April 20th meeting of the Parks, Public Spaces and Environment Committee of Manhattan Community Board 5. My name is Libby Hutton. I am the chair. First, I want to begin with going around the room and having everyone introduce ourselves, starting with our vice chair.
Renaud Vicom.
Gail Kelly. Catherine Ellington. Andy Yang.
I'd like to mention before I give my name to the chair, could we speak a little louder like we were speaking before, please, please, please? Michael Kabak, like that.
Christopher Nazaro.
And to any of our members online.
Athena Tal.
Todd Shapiro. Anybody hear me?
What?
Yes.
Okay.
And,
John Klein.
all right, Murnell, can you
Yeah.
Can you keep the room what we've got for him? Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. We've got a couple things on our agenda tonight. First, we're starting off with the Union Square Partnership Annual Summer Programming Update. Then we have a review of the Union Square Pavilion design. Then 34th Street Partnership is going to present their annual programming. And then we will go to our committee business of some updates on environmental items, which are exciting and fun, and then any new business. But before I begin, if there's any members of the public who would like to speak, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized on any item that is not on our agenda. Okay, seeing none. Seeing none, we can go into our first item. So Union Square Partnership, please introduce yourselves for the record, and we'll let you take it away from here with your presentation of annual programming.
All right, good evening, Libby and Community Board 5. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'm Ed Janoff. I'm the Deputy Director of Union Square Partnership. And so I'm here to give our sort of annual update on what's going on with us in Union Square this year. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. All right, can you see that? And is it the regular view, not the presenter view?
It's beautiful.
Great, thank you so much. So the first thing I always want to start with is just it's April, and that's really our ramp up season. April is when we begin our what we call our summer hours. So our clean team force jumps up. We roll out all the spring furniture on April 1st. At the end of March, our landscaper basically cleans out all the park gardens and mulches everything, and we do kind of a blitz of sticker removal and painting all of the furniture in the park and around the district. And then we also do seasonal spring plantings that are out there right now. Those are, some bulbs. And then in late May, early June, we'll have a round of summer plantings. I'm also highlighting here that in around the third week of April is when we will be seeding the lawn. And so working in partnership with the Parks Department, they have turned on the water in the park. Our irrigation system is working. And so we will seed the lawn in April, and then typically it closes so that the new seed can take root, and we try to get it open before Memorial Day weekend. So we're showing an approximate opening date of 5/19. During that time, it will have a fence around the lawn and signage saying that the lawn is closed. On to our summer programming this year. For Union Square Partnerships Summer in the Square programming, we are focusing really on just two main programs this year. They're based on surveys, really the two most popular programs. The first is our Music in the Square Jazz Series, which is a jazz trio of student jazz musicians from the New School. And we will have them every Thursdays at lunchtime for a 2-hour set, starting at some point in mid-June through mid-August. So it should be about 8 or 9 weeks of this 2 hours of jazz trio. And then we'll be bringing back the Movies in the Square outdoor movies for 3 Thursdays, somewhere in July and August. I don't have the exact date yet. And those typically start as soon as it gets dark enough till 10 o'clock. So again, that the Movies in the Square is in the North Plaza, so that's in front of the pavilion on the paved surface. There will be there's a partner who's helping us produce that, so more information will be coming out shortly. And that's really it for our summer programming this year from Union Square Partnership. I think we are not doing as big a program as we've done in the past, and part of that is some capacity constraints. We have a lot of other large projects going on, but also a little bit of sensitivity to the World Cup is happening and USA 250, and so there's various embargoes and there's just a lot of other stuff going on. So I think we're just kind of honing it down to just really what we've heard is the most popular stuff for now. Also, I want to just mention public art that's happening. I'll start with actually what's on the right, which is Recess Reads by Fitzhugh Carroll. That sculpture is right now in the Triangle on Union Square East at 15th Street. That has been extended through October 15th. So that will remain there. And then on the left is the 14th Street Busway mural. So that's 14th Street between Broadway and University Place. We have executed a mural there ourselves and with volunteers every year since 2021. This year, the mural is being produced by a graphic design firm, Colossal Media. They're working with a professional artist, Chantal Martin, who is doing a design similar to what you see there. So technically, Union Square Partnership is not involved this year, but I did want to just share that, you know, it is in the spirit of the mural that we've done for the last 5 years, and implementation on that is actually starting this week. So they were out there today putting down a coat of primer. But that is, again, it's on the north and south side of 14th Street between Broadway and University Place. And so it's the same footprint as what Union Square Partnership has done for the last 5 years. So I have a couple more slides here, but I just wanted to pause if there's any questions on public programming, or I could just finish the last 3 slides of updates.
I have a question.
Why don't you finish and then we can ask all of our questions together.
Okay.
Thank you.
So then just a couple more highlights regarding the partnership. DOT's 14th Street Plan project has started its public engagement kickoff this month. This was a open house style public forum at Pratt Institute on 14th Street that took place about 2 weeks ago. DOT has an online survey for the project that they're asking everybody to fill out. So if you're viewing this and want to scan the QR code, you can do it from your screen, or you can go to the web address at the top there, that's nyc.gov.14th Street. And so DOT has a pretty quick survey about conditions on 14th Street and how folks use it. Again, this is part of a 2-year design study. DOT in partnership with Union Square Partnership and the Meatpacking Bid is working on a long-term preliminary design for 14th Street and Union Square. Also, I just wanted to flag that Union Square Partnership is undergoing a bid expansion exploration. So this is not a proposal yet. This is we are studying the possibility of pursuing an expansion to our bid boundaries. What you see there on the map is what is the survey area. So before you develop any proposal for a bid expansion per the New York City Small Business Services process, you have to do a survey in that area of the need for bid services. So just this last week, we sent out a postcard to pretty much every mailing address in that blue area, about 3,900 of them. And then we have folks this week going door to door to every retailer. And again, this is another survey. So this is a second QR code. We are asking people to take a needs assessment survey of the need and interest for bid services in that blue area. So the gray area is Union Square Partnership's existing BID, and the blue area is where we think we could potentially expand to based on need and interest. This is typically a 2 to 3 year process. The very early stages right now. And again, I'll answer any questions at the end. And then finally, I wanted to highlight our annual meeting every year is in May. And so this year it'll be on May 12th. I have the URL there if anybody wants to register. You can come for free, get updates. All of our staff will be there. It's a presentation, and then we vote on our board, and then there's a networking mixer afterwards. So that's what I have for this year, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Before we go to additional questions on your presentation, I did have one question that we've heard sort of in general, that you mentioned about the World Cup, and I was wondering, as far as permitting goes, have you experienced any issues with permitting or the moratorium, and is that creating issues for you or members of the bid?
Not really for us. Basically, the moratorium will allow for any programming that has happened in prior years. So all of the programming that Union Square Partnership produces is, existing recurring annual programming. I don't know if it's affecting permit applications because those go through the city system before they come to us typically. So we may not be aware of it, but as far as I know, it has not been causing a major issue. We were not planning to produce any viewing events. We were not in conversations about anything like that. But it does seem prudent for us to just keep our programming light in anticipation of the possibility of programming that could be happening here or elsewhere in the area.
Okay, so TBD. Thank you. All right, as a reminder, questions from the committee members first, and then we'll go to comments from the public, and then we'll go into business session where only members of the committee are allowed to speak. All right, questions for Union Square Partnership on programming or anything on the agenda? Catherine.
And great presentation. My question was, so when I was looking at the bid expansion, are you also tracking, or do you track separately vacancies in the area in terms of buildings that have no tenants, or some of that kind of data? Are you looking at that? Or I don't think you have any vacant lots, but maybe you do.
We track storefront, so ground floor retail storefront vacancy within the bid boundaries. And we do not track it outside of that, and we don't have reliable data on office tenants. It's not publicly available. We can't ground truth it because we can't walk around into every building. But I can just tell you that the retail vacancy rate in the bid district as of the end of the last quarter is 9%. And so it's back down to single digits for the second consecutive quarter, really for the first time since 2019.
That's great.
All right, Myrna, do you have a question?
Yes, couple of questions actually. Might not be related to annual programming. I noticed this past couple of weekends when I walked through Union Square Park that there seemed to be extra parks enforcement presence. Do you know what that is about?
I was told that they showed up a couple weeks ago, that they had a new, and you know what, I don't know if Paul Evans is here. There's other folks from Parks, but they won't be able to speak to this. So I heard a couple weeks ago that there was a unit that arrived, and so it was, I think it was a sergeant and two UPRs, two park enforcement officers. And so it is the detail that's currently assigned to Union Square Park for 5 days a week. I don't remember exactly what the days were, but because again, I'm just telling you what I heard. So I would prefer if the Parks Department would confirm it, but I think it's right now 5 days a week, 7 to 3, but I don't remember which 5 days. I don't know if that's a permanent thing. I think that it's a resource that was available, and they know that this is an area that we've been asking for some support. And so I doubt that they can commit to one space forever, but they may be doing some work there, to increase some enforcement presence for a period of time. But I'd be happy to get some more details on that for you and get back to you.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be super helpful. I just noticed them talking to the guys that play chess. And some of the vendors, so I wasn't sure what that was about. The second is, more a clarification question. So this past weekend, you had the Earth Day event. that was being held in Union Square Park? Is that something that is part of that falls under your purview, or is that completely
No,
separate?
no, it's produced by a third party nonprofit organization. It's the same, pretty much the same event that's been happening every year for a long time.
And then they get their permits from the Parks Department or SAFO
right.
or? Okay.
From the Parks Department, yeah.
And then, one more question. So the bid expansion, when do you expect it to become a proposal if they decide it's feasible? Like when would you,
So-
and what's the timeline for you to formally come to us?
I can't give you exact dates because there needs to be a certain level of responses, and then there's sort of some planning work that has to be done. So I can only tell you what's typical. So it's typical that once you undertake an expansion exploration, you normally get to a proposal within 1 to 2 years. It could be a little bit shorter than 1 year on the short end if everything, went totally smoothly and was obvious, and it could be 2 years if there was some ongoing need for additional outreach and planning. Right now, having just initiated the surveys, I can't really say. I would be happy to be at the point of a proposal in this calendar year, but we'll see how it goes. And it may not come to a proposal. This is actually, we did an exploration, I think in 2006 that ultimately did not turn into a proposal.
You did, I'm sorry, you did an exploration on the exact same thing before?
I think it was a smaller area. I'll have to check our records, but yeah, about 20 years ago, we did an exploration and ultimately determined not to move forward with a proposal.
And so, is there a sense of how this could impact the sole source that you guys are seeking on the park?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Do you anticipate this in any way impacting the sole source agreement for the park?
No, this is unrelated to conversations with the Parks Department about a management agreement for the park.
Okay, and then do you have an estimate right now of what the revenue impact might be, or is that too early?
I don't know. Yeah, I really need to. SBS has a guideline on the process, and it's the first step is you do a needs assessment to see if there's interest and to determine what services people would like to see. From that, you determine basically a proposed area and budget, and then you need to have conversations with individual property owners to see if everybody is interested in being part of the bid, and you have to weigh the cost of providing services versus the amount of interest, and then ultimately it comes to a vote. So that's why the proposal process can take several months, is because there's a lot of conversations that need to happen. Does that make sense?
We may be having some.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we got that. Just one final thing.
Sure.
I noticed that the bid expansion map does not include 14th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue, which might actually have the greatest need to be included in a bid. Is that something that you guys would consider? That one block is.
I think there's, just looking at blocks based on issues that exist there isn't the only thing we're looking at. I think we want to see, need is an important part of it, but it's also, is it an area that spiritually is part of Union Square and the identity of this neighborhood? I think going past 6th Avenue, I think we would have a lot of doubts about whether that really is Union Square or Chelsea. If there's a need for bid services over there, it might make sense for a bid to form over there, but I'm not sure it makes sense to extend our bid just because it's next to it. But then we also need to see if it pencils out. So there's a lot of calculations that go into determining the expansion area, but right now we are not doing a survey in that section to our west.
Thank you.
All right, additional questions from members of the committee? Todd had his hand raised.
Hi, guys. Can everybody hear me?
What?
Can everybody?
Yes, we can hear you, Todd.
Okay, Ed, always a pleasure to see you come and explain what's going on in the area. So just following up on Vernal's questions. So as far as the expansion goes, what's driving it? Big picture, you know, if you could expand it and yield additional revenues, what sort of things would you be adding? Would it just be more of the same? Do you have any grand ideas that would really move the needle in terms of the big picture issues with the Union Square neighborhood that you can't do now? Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Sure. I think the main impetus for bid expansion is to address conditions, basically like areas where if you step outside of the bid boundaries, you no longer see the quality of bid services on the streetscape, but you still feel like you're in our neighborhood, right? So not having bid services on side streets that feel like it's the same neighborhood can impact the neighborhood as a whole. And so you could also call that gap filling between bid boundaries. So Flatiron has expanded down to 20th Street, Village Alliance has expanded up to 13th Street, and they are exploring expanding again. And so we're trying not to have gaps between the bids to our north and south where you don't have bid services. And so that's why you're seeing, for example, we're looking at Broadway down to 12th Street, and we're looking at 5th Avenue up to meet Flatiron at 19th Street, potentially. The other thing is when your bid grows, financially, you do tend to achieve economies of scale. So, you know, the baseline expectation is that, yes, we would be expanding our existing bid services to that area. But that's part of the reason for this survey is that you have a conversation and get feedback from owners and tenants and workers and residents in those areas to see if there's anything specific in terms of bid services that they would be interested in. It's possible that the services might be different in an expansion area than they are in the existing area. And so really right now it's sort of anything is on the table, and we'll have to see, you know, how that comes back. The assessment rate could be different, the budget could be different in the expansion zone, and the services could be different. But the basic idea is to expand what we're doing now and fill the gaps between us and neighboring bids.
Just very quickly, if I could follow up on that, Ed, you know, based on your experience back in, I think it was 2004, 2005, you know, what are the grounds, the last time it happened, that may have been before your time, but what sort of things do people push back on? Is there like a grassroots revolt perceived by landlords and tenants on having to pay any more fees? I mean, your group and the other bids have been so singular in improving the quality of life. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that an informed neighborhood would protest this, you know, given the lack of services that come from the city. I mean, what's your thought about that?
Well, I want to be clear. It's not that we made a proposal that was ever voted down. We just withdrew the proposal. And I was not here. So this was about 20 years ago. I would have been at Bryant Park and 34th Street at the time. But I think what's important to note is that the Flatiron bid had not yet formed. So there were conversations that were happening in the Ladies Mile area about should a bid form and what would it be? Even though Union Square Partnership was 40 years old, I think the Flatiron area in 2005 was still very much an area in transition. And I think there was a little bit of, you know, debate or even skepticism about, you know, what should the future of that area be? I think once the Flatiron bid was established, was extremely successful. A lot of that area was tenanted and renovated. I think there's a lot more widespread support for bids. Again, I don't think that the bid expansion for Union Square in that area necessarily felt like it wouldn't need. I think it felt like it needed to wait for the Flatiron bid to form in order for that area to kind of get a comfort level with that kind of structure. So I would imagine that it would be pretty well favored. We do get a lot of calls and emails from people saying, you know, can you extend services here? Are you over here? You know, I would like, you know, I see a condition that I'd like you to remedy, and we have to say you're not in our area. So I'm not expecting a lot of opposition, but we will only find that out, you know, as we initiate these conversations, which again, we really just kicked off the outreach last week.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Thanks, Todd.
Michael Payback, you had a question.
Oh, yeah. Ed, you said in your presentation that movies were Thursday. Did you say 3 times at dusk, but you didn't know the dates? Was that?
Yeah, this is being produced by a partner organization. Another nonprofit is going to be producing these with us. And so apologies for the background noise. We are trying to they do multiple dates throughout the city, and we are trying to get 3 dates in a row because we just think it's a better series instead of when they're just random dates. So I don't know yet. I just know that it will be in July and August, and we're trying to get 3 in a row.
Dusk to whenever, dusk to 8 or 9.
Yeah.
10.
We will have an announcement by email when those dates are confirmed.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Ed, Union Square Partnership, summer programming? Okay, seeing none, are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment? Charles Nye, you are recognized.
We can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, I've a couple of questions. First one's on accessibility. I think in the past I've raised this issue before when it comes to movie nights about audio description with movies for people who are blind and low vision. And I was just wondering, just so I don't feel like I'm asking every year, I'm just wondering if there's ever going to be any progress on that, and if you guys actually do any surveying or reaching out to the disability community to really improve accessibility to the events in Union Square, because a park should be inclusive to all abilities, and sometimes it feels like even though I appreciate that things are ADA accessible is the bare minimum, and other bids do go above and beyond, such as Times Square Alliance. So I'm just wondering what more Union Square Partnership could do, and maybe if they could even reach out to other bids to see what they're doing. And then I wasn't able to obviously visually see the map, so I don't know where you're expanding to. So I was wondering where you're proposing to expand to. My apologies there. Maybe you could let me know which streets and avenues. I heard 12th Street and Broadway. I believe that might be outside the boundary of Community Board 5. So if another community board falls in part of the expansion and they're hearing about events from Union Square like Community Board 5 does, what would happen if there was I was just wondering how you feel if there was a conflict between 2 community boards in approving an event or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Ed, did you want to try to address some of those questions for us?
Thanks, Charles. I'll do the second part first, which is the expansion area. I don't want to call it the expansion area, the exploration area where we are currently doing needs assessment survey outreach. The largest section is 5th Avenue from 14th Street to 19th Street, but then also Broadway from 17th to 19th, Park Avenue South from 17th to 19th, and Irving Place from 14th to 19th. So basically everywhere where Union Square Partnership is today, an expansion north to 19th Street is what's being explored. And then most of the rest of it was relatively small. It was Broadway from 12 to 13, the west side of 4th Avenue from 12 to 13, a few odd lots on the north side of 13th Street, about 5 or 6 of them, which are just sort of cleanup of the southern boundary of the bid, and then the 2 new buildings that are on the west side of 6th Avenue on 14th Street. This is in the majority of the survey area is in Community District 5. There are a small number of lots that are in Community District 2, and at this time, none in Community District 3. However, and there's a few in 6 as well. So we did send a notification to 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Were to move to a proposal phase.
Josh.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Did he?
I think that your microphone just changed source on your end, not our end.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Battery problem with the headset. So
You're frozen for a second, sorry.
We sent notifications to community boards 2, 3, 5, and 6. If this were to move to a proposal phase, we would there'd be a formal presentation to each board. This ultimately becomes a council legislative action anytime a bid is formed or expanded. And then on the question of audible devices so all of our movies are presented with subtitles. When it comes to audible devices, the movie production partner that we worked with last year said they didn't have the capability. So I did email the board. I emailed Community Board 5 asking if they had any reference for that. But I'm going to email them again, and I'll email Times Square. And I think you maybe said that Bryant Park has something like that. So we have some time here. I will see if we can get that done for this year, Charles.
All right, thank you, Ed, for those answers. Recognizing Michael Reef, sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong.
Michael Reef, thank you. Hi, Ed. Nice to see you.
Michael.
Can you hear me? Hi. I assume you can hear me. So the question I have is really regarding the expansion of the bid versus discussions or thoughts on conservancy. Can you elaborate on any thoughts that are taking place at this stage?
I can. So I believe it was Assistant Commissioner David Cerrone from the Parks Department came here to the board in the fall saying, giving the details of the fact that the partnership and the Parks Department are in conversations exploring a management agreement, what we were calling a lowercase c conservancy style agreement for Union Square Park. The Parks Department got approval to negotiate that step 1 approval for a sole source agreement from FCRC in October. However, we started to have conversations, but really had to put them on pause for the change of administration. And so there are, we're just reinitiating conversations with the Parks Department about that right now. So I don't have any update for you, but I think we're hopeful that we'll be able to come back to you in a couple of months with more information about that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Are there any other members of the public who would like to make a comment on annual programming, Union Square Partnership? Okay, seeing none, I will take everything into business session. Only members of the committee are allowed to speak. How is everyone feeling about the programming? Does anyone have any concerns about the programming, variations, commentary? How this typically goes is we write a resolution commemorating what it is.
A comment?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that if they're able to make that expansion, maybe they'll be doing more events than just what they're doing. Increase that'll be fun for all concerned, I would imagine.
Okay, yeah.
I was just saying, it does seem pared down this year because of the World Cup, so it doesn't seem like there's a ton of like net new. Imagine we'll sort of see what the World Cup unfolds. There's a lot of big notes, I think, about how that will impact this season.
Catherine.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay,
Well,
Christopher.
are we taking his position on the bid expansion thing? Like, should we say it's a good thing or?
I think that
No.
we're not taking, I think that's just like a note. I don't think that,
It has nothing to do, it's not gonna go in the resolution, it's nothing to do with this.
no, I think that is more of a flag for us and
I'm
that
just
we should.
feeling strongly about it. I mean,
I think that we need more information in order to like, actually, it's too early in the process.
Yeah, there's no.
They're
proposal.
they're exploring it. They've announced that they're exploring it. I think that that is premature for us to have that conversation. I think that we can have additional conversations about it, but that would be a different meeting with additional prep time. Christopher.
I mean, again, the only thing I would say about it is, it would be good to encourage people to take the survey.
We can totally encourage people to take the survey, but
Should
maybe
that
not
be
in
in
our
the resolution?
not in the resolution. Maybe separately. I know you're very focused on surveys right now. If anyone wants to volunteer, to take more surveys, that is something you can also do.
only thing I would say about the bid expansion is that they did mention it. So, yes, it is an exploratory phase, but at the same time, we all have been given an FYI for a reason, right? So.
Hey, Ed, I've got a question. When would you come back to us hypothetically if the bid expansion or exploration is going to go forward? We would have ample time to comment on that, right?
Yeah, it has to go through a formal review process. It's not quite a ULURP, but it's a similar process in spirit. And again, this is a council legislation. I don't remember the last expansion you guys saw. I don't remember what committee it is actually that reviews them. And so again, it would be at some later date, could be 6 months to 2 years, where we would have a formal proposal that would be going through a review.
I think it's back.
Is there a way to get, sort of maybe a tentative timeline, but also more procedurally, if this does proceed, how does it go?
Well-
It's new to us.
Well, I think that,
In the drawing.
okay, so I can
Yeah.
answer some of this. We did the Flatiron Nomad partnership, I think is the last one. That's
There's no more document on this
Yeah,
that we can distribute.
we can get into
It's a
that.
very lengthy document to explain.
But
the
Ed,
process.
can we have your promise to this committee that you will come back, even if we're not seeing the potential expansion, that you will come back to this committee, even if this committee is not seeing it, to talk to us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to come to this committee to talk more about it. The process also requires both the bid to produce multiple public forums, and also there's a public hearing, and there's also a council hearing, but I'd be certainly happy to come back to this board specifically.
Yes, I know that internally, this committee probably has different feelings, so wherever that gets distributed, I think that we may have our own opinion too, and just make sure that our relationship stays strong and high communication. That said, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the programming. The Union Square doing this now.
Oh, it's T.
Okay. Man, you were writing this resolution. I want to make sure that you have everything that you need for that. Is it needs to be document?
Should we encapsulate?
Yeah, we should, can
Read
someone
that, yeah.
enumerate the things that should go into this summary?
Take those, cause this thing's.
Oh, shit, okay, yikes. All right, so does anyone want to encapsulate the events?
Limited number of events of scheduled events due to other activities that are gonna be happening this summer. A note about improving the accessibility for the movie event to make that more accessible to folks in the district. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, and just sort of summarize what was covered in the presentation, and we have a copy of that presentation too, that's in the drive.
It's not on the drive.
It was
Yeah,
added
they just.
today, they sent it over to.
Oh, okay.
Just now.
And that's sort of the summary of how it is. We can also talk a little bit offline about it. Is there anything else that anyone would like to have
And
included?
at the art installation?
Both of the extension and the problem.
Do you wanna make a note of the lack of jugglers?
The crime fighting jugglers.
Anything on the.
Yeah, we could make a note.
We should make a note.
We should make a note.
Right,
We'll make a note. Yeah,
That there is a.
the
Early
exploratory,
phase.
early phase, and there's a commitment to come back to the Parks Committee, regardless of committee that it ultimately will go
can
through.
we get that amendment? I mean, that-
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Can we take it to a vote? Okay, I will hang on, I will take it to a vote. Sorry, we're having some technical issues over here, with a tech. Sorry, we're having some technical issues with some software updates that are happening at very
Okay, I think I got it.
unfortunate times.
Very important.
Okay, Charlie Baker is absent. John Klein,
Proof.
Athena,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
Okay, John Harris.
Yes.
Yes, Michael Tabak.
Yes.
Gail Kelly, yes. Christopher Nazaro,
Yes.
all right, Todd Shapiro,
Yes.
great. Myrna
Yes.
and Mandy. Okay, great. With, 11, 0, it passes. Ed, thank you so much for presenting, and thanks for sticking around for our next item, I imagine, which is the, Union Square, pavilion design for the ladies pavilion for the new restaurant that is coming in. So our presenters will introduce themselves for the record, and we'll hand it over to you.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm Tony McCary. I'm the Parks Director of Concession Architecture and Development. Here with the Parks Deputy Director of Compliance for Concessions, Jeremy Holmes. Our licensee, Aaron Broda, he's the principal of Union Square Park House. And Jonathan Chesley, who's the principal architect for Kitsmith Studios. Jonathan, if you want to share your screen with the presentation while I complete the intro. We're here today to present a design for the glass enclosure of the Union Square Pavilion. The development and operation for the kiosk was competitively bid through an RFP process, and Union Square Park House was the successful proposer. They will operate the facility for a 15-year term and have committed to expending a minimum capital investment of $1.85 million, all privately invested. A primary objective of the RFP was to expand the use of the pavilion for year-round activation. Parks is fully supportive of this design, which we feel is sensitive to the original architecture character of the structure. And we are currently seeking PDC approvals and hope for your support. I'll turn it over now to Jonathan to walk us through the details of the design. Thank you.
Where is this? Oh. Okay, hi everyone. So as Tony noted, we are working on a renovation of the existing Union Square Pavilion, north side of Union Square. So on the map here shown, it's the top of the map, right across from 17th Street. This pavilion was originally built in 1932 by the Parks Department. It's a Italianate design pavilion. It has gone through many uses, and over the period from 2010 to 2014, the pavilion was renovated as a capital improvement with the Parks Department. And during that time, it was transitioned into a eating and drinking facility with an exterior patio use. And since that time, it's been utilized by a variety of tenants, and we are very fortunate to be working towards being the next tenants. The pavilion space, this is just kind of looking, we kind of did a quick assessment of just to give clarity on some of the different ways that the park is used and different, this is sort of where we get a variety from the farmer's market to just open public space. This is the playground in behind the pavilion and the bathrooms. This is the public bathroom. And then this is, the raised portion of the park. These are some images. I'm sure you're all aware, but just nice to familiarize ahead. This is what was installed with the previous concessionaire.
Can you just describe the images a little bit more?
Sorry,
for
sure,
people who
absolutely.
see them?
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks.
I think, yes. So this here we have on the left, we have an image looking from the northwest of the park, looking towards the pavilion, and then the other one is from the northeast of the park, looking towards the pavilion. Here, just a little bit closer. In these images, you can see what was previously installed. So there was a little kind of container cafe that allowed for some service right off of the pavilion or right off of the outdoor dining area. There's an awning that extends from sort of like the two wings. The building is a cruciform sort of design, and so there are these two symmetrical wings. And then we have eating picnic tables out front of there. These are images of the park in the back, the kids' park. You can no longer access the pavilion from the rear, although it does have like a kind of wall to it. And you enter this park area from the raised portion of the park. This is another view from that angle. And then this is an angle from sort of straight on, just looking at the pavilion again. Some of the key things we were looking at are the neoclassical or sort of the Italianate design, the sort of high amount of detail that's here, is really important to us. And the symmetry of the building is obviously key as well. So per the RFP, we're able to utilize the pavilion as well as the first 17 feet kind of in front of it for exterior use. And these are just some existing drawings, elevations describing what the pavilion looks like of the sides. So then our design strategy. So overall, it's a very simple design strategy. Typically we try to celebrate the existing structure as much as possible and just add as minimally as possible to give whatever function or aesthetic desire would be ideal for the program and for the client and for the use. So in this case, the first thing we're proposing is we're going to be removing the awnings at this time to sort of expose the building a little bit more of what it used to be. And we're basically going to be enclosing the building. So we'll be providing a glazing system to fully enclose this so that the pavilion can now be utilized year-round. And of course, still including the program out front and the exterior during seasonal times. So these are just plans showing the sort of proposal from the rooftop. Here's a little bit of a close-up. This is progress of the interior of the design as well as the exterior of the design. So we have sort of a central bar with sitting on both sides of the wings as well as seating out front and on the exterior. You can see that it's a little bit small. You can see though that we have now a doorway here, and this is all glazed. And then we have glazing happening between the windows as well. You can see in a little more detail here. So between each of the columns, we'll be supplying glazing both on the front and the back. And then this will be a large glazed opening with side lights and a glazed transom above. And then the back, since it won't be accessible in any way, we'll still be utilizing glazing there to kind of maximize the amount of light and views that are coming in and out of the pavilion. This is just for information. We will be adding, of course, there'll be mechanical upgrades required for this. Now that it'll be enclosed, there'll be heating and cooling, as well as the plumbing and electrical upgrades we'll need to do for the bar as well as the lighting. So this is an elevation now with the glazing installed, and so we're looking at a few options, but this proposal shows operable windows. This is the front, so this is looking from 17th Street. You have operable windows in each bay between the columns. Wherever there's, kind of some of the extra special detail or crenellation of the existing architecture, we'll be using like a solid panel. These windows will be aluminum windows that will be detailed to, we're still working a little bit on the details, but they'll be detailed to resonate with the existing design, but still be different, to kind of set apart the new from the old while making them mesh together. These are large glazing panels, so like allowing, once again, lots of light to come in and out. And then the front entry will be a large glazed door with glazing on either side. So the effect is, you know, to make it feel as minimal of an intervention as possible while allowing for a full year activities and operations of the concession. So allowing something for the community to have in the middle of the park all year round. The rear, very similar, just showing the fixed windows and no doors. The side elevations just for information, but we're not really doing anything to these areas. And then just some details on, you know, the most important elements, which is the glazing. We've looked at a few different design options for this and how we can integrate with the Italianate details. And in particular, so we have sort of three options that we kind of have here. This is this first one where it's really kind of mimicking the existing details in aluminum. It's kind of we have a transom, a large curved transom right at the entry that then creates a little bit of an overhang. So you kind of come in under a covered space, and then the doors are set back, which is both for, you know, DOB requirements, but also will be nice for a little bit of cover throughout the seasons. Here's a rendering of another version where we're looking at, okay, can we make it a little thinner? How are there different ways that we can maybe avoid details? Where do we interact with them? Where do we not? This is pretty similar to the previous one. It's just pulled the detail right out. So it's almost like an extension of what's there. And then this, which is a simplification of the design. So it does still sort of, it does still change, or there's kind of like detail elements where the existing details happen, but it's a subtler expression. So rather than the full Italianate sort of flares, it's more just kind of little reveals that punctuate key elements of the Italianate design. It's maybe worth noting that this is currently the preferential direction, particularly that was what's described to us by Public Design Commission when we went to them for our preliminary review a month ago. And then this is a elevation in a little more detail of how the windows would be working between the different columns in the different column bays, and a simple rendering of that. And then, you know, just when it comes to materials, these are sort of the existing materials: limestone, some sort of local granite, you know, black iron work. And, you know, we're kind of coming forward with something maybe to add just a slight bit of color, a slight bit of detail to also separate the expression of the new from the old, but really just leaning into the park feeling of the place. And that's the presentation.
Thank you so much. I wondered if you could just go back to the slide where it had the columns with, I think, like the green windows and sort of like that interface between the two.
This one?
Yeah, can you zoom in on that a little bit more?
Yeah, let me just get out of this view and then I'll see what I can do here.
Sort of the gap between the column itself and the
Sure.
material is what I was curious about.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop.
Thank you for our presentation.
Here we go. I think, okay, so it's this image. I mean, it's not a super high res thing, but you're just, you mean in this area over here?
Yes, exactly. Sort of what that gap sort of, because it's not an immediate fit. You'd have to, I'm sure, fashion it around.
So all these, exactly. And even the columns themselves, right? So as a as a good column does, it's not actually straight, it's slightly bowed. And so it means everything around these details, there's going to be a bit of an offset. And then in areas where we need to offset more, we just sort of have to find a way to fill those panels. So up here, but where the capitals of the columns are, we're not going to try to put glazing up there because I mean, I just think it's not going to be resolved very nicely. We won't get our alignments working and all kinds of things. So similarly, along these edges, at the current time, this will just be like an infill panel to match with these. The detail is obviously a little bit thin in this image. And this doesn't show it, but I think what's worth showing is that, this is that, we're exploring, you can see it's kind of happening in two different ways because we're still developing some of these details. But the idea is we could, at these moments, rather than just being like a flat panel, having, reveals where these kind of key elements of the capital exist, for example, that would sort of similarly be mimicked in one of the blank panels, and also potentially, this would probably have some sort of expression that would kind of work with what's happening. It wouldn't just be kind of like a blobby block. Sorry, it needs a little more verbal explanation because it's not totally.
Blobby block, because it's a technical architectural.
That's
thing.
right, exactly.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
John Harris is our lead committee member on this, so I was gonna give you first shot at some additional questions. But some I'm sure we'll follow up on when we saw this a couple months ago.
I mean, just broadly, speaking, is this your final proposal of this? Because I guess the way it was presented to me was, this is an update. So can you just elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. Yeah. So where we are in the process is this was moved to be approved for a preliminary approval by the Public Design Commission. So we still have one round of reviews with both parks and them, and that's where we flesh out some of these details that aren't quite clear here. But the overall direction, the overall approach, even potentially the colors. At this point, there haven't been a lot of comments on colors, so we're studying that because we're also developing the interiors more, and for that, we want to make it all kind of go together really nicely. So we're looking at some options there. But yeah, so I'd say yes, this is progress, but quickly moving towards the final thing.
Okay, if you were just to summarize, then what are the key elements of a project? I mean, I've looked at all the pages that, 30 some pages or what have you. Could you just sort of neatly summarize what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve?
Sure. Yeah, I think in simplest terms, we're trying to create a fully enclosed building from an existing pavilion. And in order to do that, we're approaching it with a delicate touch as much as possible. So trying to have as few we don't want to cover up the structure in any way. So we're going between existing elements, and we're trying to make the elements going between them as kind of elegant and in line with the existing building as possible.
Okay. And how flexible will this design be for potentially different businesses in the future? Or the same business type, but a different company?
Yeah, well, I think that I mean, I think there's the potential for it to be a real service to this pavilion. I was working across the street from it when it was undergoing the original or the most recent renovation, the big one in 2010 to 2014. And at that time, it wasn't really being utilized at all. And then after that, obviously you get a lot of you get a lot of interaction with it during the high season. But then during kind of the winter, late fall, even to early spring, it's just kind of sitting there. So I think in that sense, that's the flexibility that we're providing. The interiors, I think that inevitably, probably another vendor is going to want to put their stamp on this in some way, as it's been the case for all vendors or sort of concessionaires up to this point. So, I think that's less about it. I think more what we're providing is kind of like a longevity to the building. Not only is it obviously enclosed, but it'll be conditioned. It'll be a space that can be enjoyed year round. So I think in that sense, we're providing some flexibility. Yeah.
And can you speak to the outs? I guess in the winter, the focus would be more on the inside, but as the weather gets warmer,
Yes.
the outside is being used more, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Explain a little bit more, how that sort of transition takes place. What sort of accommodation do you have for, outside seating? And, is there a ring around that at all? Barriers, how does that work? Are they temporary, permanent?
Right. Yep. Yeah. So once again, the exact details we're still working on, but there will be a barrier. There has to be, in order for this area to be utilized in this way. Those will be movable. These tables, once again, the exact spec isn't totally known, but whether they're picnic tables or folding tables or a mixture of sort of park-like round tables and picnic tables, in the end, the interest of us is to make it so the most number of people and the most diverse mix of people can sit here. So it might be a mix of picnic tables, small tables, whatever, but those will all be able to move out of the way, particularly during the winter, but also if that's needed for any other reason. So it'll be fully contained. We're looking at a mixture of being able to do that potentially with some planters would be really nice. You can see there's ideas about plants, about potentially some small potted trees or maybe a hedge that's in a planter. We kind of have to dig into that a little bit, but that might be a nice element that, is creating a bit of separation and helping kind of also integrate the building further into the park, since it has this kind of one side that's very, much in the sort of planted area of the park, and one side that is much on the plaza side of the park.
So, thank you. So in the winter, that extra area will sort of recede back, disappear, or will it still be there? I guess I'm getting, how will the footprint change between, good weather and colder weather, warm weather versus cold weather, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, I might want Aaron to just comment on it a little bit. It's a bit of an operational question, but it certainly could be taken down, moved, collapsed, depending on the season and the temperature. I don't know, Aaron, maybe you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, it's still TBD, as we've never the space hasn't really been operated for food and beverage in the colder months. But ideally, people are sitting out there for a good portion of those cold months. Maybe there's, with the approval of the community board and the parks department, there's some sort of temporary heating infrastructure that we're able to get approval for. But we see ourselves utilizing those 17 feet pretty much year round. And if during the less busy months, if there's other programming, or if the community board's interested in, we're happy to talk about alternatives to that. But yeah, certainly would see the whole place being used year round, and obviously during the colder months, more of the activity indoors.
Okay, okay, so possibly that additional 17 feet will be part of the footprint year round. Well, we should have seen that, I suppose. ADA, can you speak a little bit to disability? What
Yeah.
accommodations you have for people?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the existing building has an elevator. So right now, the way that you access the building, if you have trouble with stairs in any way, is you would come around, there's a side entrance, and there's an elevator here that brings you up to the plaza level.
Wheelchair. Yeah, oh, okay. Is that?
Yeah.
Well, okay. And so no change, no enhancement.
No ramp.
No.
Okay, can you speak to restrooms, please?
Sure. Yeah. We'll be doing like a slight kind of, facelift, but really just a touch up to the existing restrooms. There's two ADA size restrooms and a smaller restroom. And then of course, there's also the restrooms that are part of that are over here to the east of the pavilion. Like any, Parks can elaborate on this, but like any Parks building, this is open to the public, whether they order something or not, so these bathrooms are kind of one and the same.
And just one last question, and I'm not sure you're the appropriate person, so I'll ask it anyway. I've lived in the park area for a long time, and some of the level of sanitation and upkeep has varied depending on who's been in the premises.
Right.
And there's no way to put it other than in the summer months, sometimes, there's still sort of their vermin or what have you.
Rats.
Operating around the outside part. Is there anything structurally that can be done to minimize that risk, or is that just purely something that's more in the purview for exterminators?
I may not be the best person to answer that question.
The license agreement has obligations for pest control and that on the concessionaire, so that'll be a part. And now that they're there year round, that actually is a benefit, because what had happened in the past is, in the summer months, they would address it, and then the building would be vacant for the winter months. So now the hope is that having a presence here with the concession plus Parks is here too. Parks is, operations is in the building, so they have their own protocols for everything, sanitation and pest control, things like that. But now the concessionaire being there year round hopefully will help that situation.
But just to follow up on that, pest control is more of a, there's nothing structurally you can do to address that issue, correct? It's just people coming in and spraying and keeping things clean and what have you, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Well, I think the building being conditioned and fully enclosed will somewhat help that situation.
All right. Thank you.
Todd, I see another question. Question for the design. Todd Shapiro.
Oh, wait, Libby, I have a comment.
Okay, hold comments. Questions. Catherine.
Maybe I missed it. Is there something underneath on the lower level? Is that where storage is, or?
That's Parks operations and offices are down below, and the mechanical spaces as well.
Thank you.
All right, question? Christopher.
Is landmarks hearing them?
Okay, so clarification, Landmark is not hearing this because it is not a landmark building, so that's why it's coming to us. It is my understanding, we normally don't see things that involve windows and the types of materials used in great detail. But to the extent that it relates to the accessibility of the park, I think that our comments on aesthetics can be, I don't know, Josh, I don't know if you have guidance on this. We're allowed to comment on the aesthetics, but it's not really the focus, most of the functionality, but aesthetics matter, it's just, it's not landmarked.
Yeah, you can make any argument you want.
But yeah, I mean, but it's not landmarked, it's just sort of because it's an alteration to a park building. So yeah, so that's part of why we're seeing it. Did you have a question?
Jen,
about
as
that?
a follow-up question, is anyone here from Landmarks, like, or also on that committee? I don't know who the other, okay, sorry.
Yeah, John and Michael Kavak is also on landmark,
Michael,
and so
I
it's
forgot about that.
John and
Yeah.
Michael.
Sure. I mean, what's the is there a question?
I'm just wondering if you're here,
Taking
that's
attendance.
just wondering who.
Is there overlap?
Yeah, what the
As far as
overlap is.
the
Yeah.
types of considerations that happen in that regard. Thank you. Additional questions? Myrtle.
Quick question regarding signage. When this came to the committee earlier, we'd asked for signage, a clear signage, two stipulations. One was to let people know that the restrooms inside were accessible to people without purchase. And the second one was that the seating outside, which I mean, it's great. I mean, if it's gonna be year-round seating, can I just say that's awesome? Hopefully you can put some heating out there too. But my hope is that that will be available to the public as well, if it's not being used by the patrons at the restaurant. So it would be accessible to the public without purchase. So two things. Yeah, so signs that show that say very clearly that, you know, the seating is for everyone and that the restrooms are for everyone. Is that still the case?
That is still the case.
Awesome, that's what I like to hear.
More questions.
Okay, Mandy.
I was wondering if there's been any, I guess, pedestrian foot traffic analysis done, just on like anticipated growth in people visiting, any sort of analysis or information you have on that?
No, we have not done a pedestrian foot traffic analysis. Once again, we're not the first concession. So this has been operating as a concession for over a decade now. And so, yeah, we did not undergo something like that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry if you mentioned this, but I guess how long do you think this will take? How disruptive will it be? Is it gonna sort of like impact the, you know, the area and the green market around it? How's it gonna be kind of cordoned off? And just some of those logistics while these changes are made.
Yeah, great question. So, you know, obviously we're a ways off, but we'll have to have a construction fence around the project. I would guess that it'll basically be, you know, I don't exactly know yet, but I would guess that we would be allowed to use this same 17-foot footprint for that. So as far as its impact on the greater park, I mean, it really should be relatively minimal. I mean, we're not doing a lot of really invasive work. We're not removing a lot of stuff. We're not even really adding walls. So a lot of the work is going to be, there will be sort of like plumbing and that, you know, mechanical work that'll be happening. There'll be a few times when we'll have to get equipment on there, and obviously that'll be coordinated to times when there isn't a green market or something like that. But otherwise, it's just going to be kind of bringing things in and then installing them on site. So as far as the construction project goes, I would, you know, the goal is for it to be on the lighter side of disruptiveness.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Athena.
Hi, I guess just to follow up on Myrtle's question, I think the current tenant closes the outdoor seating area for the winter. So what's your, I guess, outdoor seating plan? Is it seasonal or in the winter? Do you plan to keep it open? Do you plan to have a barrier or heating?
Right.
Yes, we do. I think we'll speak to parks and the community for approval for heating, but and again, we have to sort of see how the traffic is looking because nobody's operated during the cold months. But ideally, we'd like to utilize those 17 feet year round, including the cold months.
Okay, and the other thing is, I don't think the current tenant has any cooking or kitchen equipment in there. Are you planning to add CapEx equipment or anything that might be a fire hazard, and how are you handling that?
There's currently an existing kitchen with a hood that's all approved by the fire department and DOB. So we're not going to change that too much. It's a fully functioning kitchen down in the basement. It's just the public doesn't really get to see that.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
forgot to mention that. In the basement is where the kitchen is. Yeah, there's a full commercial kitchen down there.
It's where this this magenta box is located.
Todd.
What's the magenta box?
The kitchen.
Did I hear my name called?
Yes, Todd.
Are we up to comments?
We are not up to comments. We are still on questions, and I just want to remind everyone that we've got 2 more items tonight, so we want to look towards getting to a resolution on this. But if there are questions about the design, Michael Hayback.
I have a question, not about the design. I assume that there's no plan, since there's an elevator, for an ADA ramp. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Plans for a ramp. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank
Yep.
you. And when are you planning to begin construction? I understand you said you had a 15-year term lease already signed?
Yes, I believe that's true.
That's correct.
So when are you planning to begin construction?
We're hoping to begin in early summer, early to
Thank you.
midsummer.
Sorry, just
Oh, okay. One more, Christopher, quick question.
the hours of operation are not decided yet, or like, does SLAP deal with that? Like, they have a bar, they're gonna be open until what time?
Yeah.
Does that have any bearing on like what we say today?
I think that's a separate, this is going to like the part, this is just like the actual
open-
infrastructure stuff.
How
We
the
had
how
the-
the
we had
facility
the-
is used is not part
The
of it.
year-round thing we already saw.
Mhm.
And I think that there were hours in that to
Yeah.
some capacity. I don't remember exactly what they were, but that's also where we secured the signage, which we're going to, I imagine, reiterate here, along with any aesthetic commentary that we have about the actual design and year-round uses and other things we want to advocate for with seating. Did you have
Another question. The
question?
question then is, can we use the space? The community board?
For meetings?
Yeah, for meetings, events.
I believe that that was something that was discussed in the last meeting about having more of a community hub and having community groups and nonprofits in as at one of your other locations. Am I recalling that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, currently in our location in McCarran Park, we often have sort of community organizations and community groups coming through and hosting events on a regular basis. I think for any kind of meetings or whatnot that the community board wants to host, please, yeah, I think that would be great. Just let's communicate about it, timing, all that stuff, figure out what the traffic is looking like in the space, and I'm sure we can accommodate that.
Okay, any questions? One last question, okay.
Can you talk about lighting? Could someone what sort of lighting do you have, that's a permanent part of the building? And, in theory, could someone color this building orange or green or turquoise or whatever color they wanted at night, or is it just regular standard lighting?
Sure. So yeah, any lighting we provide would be standard. I think we haven't totally figured out how we would provide lighting for particularly like kind of the winter months if for the outdoor use, but there'll be at the very minimum there'll be a light above the doorway. And the building itself will kind of act as a light. It'll be kind of like a glowing lantern, in a lot of ways with the amount of windows that we're providing. So
Yeah, and currently there's some uplighting in the two sides of the stairwells and by the sort of like the right and the left side of the building out front.
Okay, I want to take this to public comment and then we can get into business session. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on the design of the Union Square Restaurant Pavilion? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I will now take us into business session. Todd, you can make your comment.
Are we doing comments now?
Yes, we're doing comments and we're
Oh,
hopefully moving towards
okay.
resolution because we still have another item on our agenda with annual programming.
Okay, I'll try to be brief. Okay, so I like what I see with this. My comment is in terms of the glass and the frosting and the attempt to be consistent with the historical purpose of the building, that's all to the good. What I would hate to see happen, when we had discussions at the committee about this, hopefully this will be affordable in terms of menu, approach, and method of operation to everybody, and that with this glass and the openness, it doesn't become a closed cage to those who can't afford it to look in and be resentful. So at the end of the day, whatever design you come up with, and this one seems promising, just as a general principle, try to keep that in mind so that people who are walking by say, wow, what a great place. I want to go in there, and it's welcoming and open and not another rich guy's closed place that, contributes so much to the problems that we have in our stratified society today. That's it.
Okay, Christopher.
What? You just prefer that we just vote on it, or? Because I don't care.
Recommendation,
I'll
your
vote.
recommendation.
What?
Do you what? Okay.
No,
what
I
would we
think
like
it's great. I'd really like to, what do we even change? We can change it? I'm not,
Well,
I'm not
we can
proposing to
comment
change
if you
anything.
don't like certain elements of the aesthetics, if you would like.
No,
you
I
to
couldn't
ensure
care
that
less
we have
about the
certain
aesthetic.
things-
My comment is, it looks like a great opportunity for us to have a space. I mean, we don't have this in any of our district parks. It may be, Central Park must have buildings, but I would be surprised if we went to Central Park and said, hey, can we borrow the castle or whatever the heck they have there for our meetings? But this is a rare situation where we can very much like use the space like for. I wish we had it for our own task force public meeting, but we need to have public meetings and stuff like that. If this is an option, it's a great way for us to expand our capacity within the parks and engage with the more park goers. But like as a community board, I think it would be great to be able to use the space, from time to time. So and it looks fine, sure. Otherwise it sits there vacant half the year.
Yes, we already saw that piece of it. This is just based purely on the physicality of the structure is the goal of most of what we were saying here.
There's nothing, I'm not an architect, so it looks great. I think we can use the space. It'll be a great opportunity.
Okay, I do wonder just a little bit about like the stuff on the columns and if there's a way to sort of have it. I do think the direction looks very beautiful with all of that glass, and the nods to the architecture, but I know that that structure is a little hard to work around, so I just imagine that just do a good job with that is my own recommendation, purely aesthetically. I'm not on landmarks, so that's all I got. Myrna,
Well, I have my reservations around the green color of the cladding. I mean, I don't know.
I disagree.
But anyway,
I
not
It looks green.
Yeah.
Blends with
it's-
the park.
Yes.
It blends.
Goes with the rest of the park. I think this is very, very encouraging, I gotta say. I think we should encourage them to have the seating, outdoor seating be year round with heating and be accessible to the public. That don't have to make a purchase. I think that the pavilion, I have to say, they've been
With a sign.
with the sign, yes,
the
and they
sign.
have been great partners, at least so far with agreeing to what we've asked for in terms of signage and access to the restroom and access to seating. This is amazing. I think definitely would like, I personally would like to see the outdoor seating be year round with heating. So that people can sit down and even if you're not purchasing anything, have a place to sit down in the park. Have year round use for the park.
Okay. Is there a direction that we would like to go? John?
I was just gonna comment, putting on my landmarks committee hat a little bit, the direction that this is going is very good. I think a lot of the challenge that comes up the landmarks committee is around the details, which we unfortunately don't have in this meeting, but I think that the direction and intent that everyone's working towards seems to be aligned and is trying to make it well, and it is a particularly difficult thing to try and do, so kudos to the team for working on that, and we'll be excited to see the further details once those get finalized.
Yeah. All right, do we have things that we would like to put into resolution, the things that we would like to ask for, wish list, or otherwise, can we start to enumerate some of them? Myrna?
Okay, so I think I would like to put in the resolution again, and this was in the original resolution as well, when these guys came to us, which said that there's gonna be signage with accessible seating and restrooms to everyone without purchase, and that they have reiterated their commitment to that. I'd like to encourage them to have year-round seating with heating, so that we can get good use out of the park or year-round. Christopher's point of, they said they'd be open to letting the community use the space, depending on what the usage is. That, I think that's fantastic. That should definitely go in the resolution as well. What else did I have in there? Yeah, that's all. That's all I have in there.
Okay. Does anyone have anything to like add, change, modify, additional? Don, you're gonna be writing it, so.
But it seems to me this, if I'm understanding, this resolution is about design. Correct?
Yeah, design,
So-
and then
So.
we can get the opportunity to like reiterate as part of the design, like a physical
Yeah,
sign is.
So
physical,
let's talk
but-
about seating.
Yeah.
And heating. I'm not sure that's part of the design unless it's permanent seating. If it's permanent seating, yes, but if it's temporary seating and you talk about bringing lamps outside.
I think
I
the,
don't see where that is necessarily.
I think the seating has
design.
to do with the footprint and sort of the design that they presented us with, like
Well,
the mix of tables. I think that that's an aesthetic choice, but also a use choice.
So
so
you're
sort of the-
suggesting,
I think the
the
like,
lamps out there, how is that part of the design?
So
The heating, I'm just asking.
I
I'm
mean,
just
it's
asking a
the
question.
physical
The
piece of
part
it.
that would be part of the design would be making sure that you have the power structure around the
Okay.
facility.
Well, and also like the use
Or
of
the
like the
lighting,
tables
yes.
outside and like the mix of the tables and the footprint and how far the footprint goes out. Like that's why they're presenting us with what the tables look
The
like.
footprint is set already, 17.
But like where the tables are within that, I believe. I mean, also, this is,
Okay.
it's like not a landmark thing. There's no real
Yeah.
scope. I think we can kind of do whatever we
Yeah.
want. We have a
Those
little
are-
bit more
those are
freedom
all
than we
movable
are
items.
restricting ourselves.
Those are all movable
I
items.
think we're allowed to talk about movable items. I think, well, we're a community board, we're a focus group. I think we're allowed to talk about whatever, but we can give our own scope here.
My 2 cents on that
Let's
is,
not
yes, I
talk
mean, it's not a landmark, right? They don't necessarily have to come to us with, we can critique the design till the cows come home, but you know, it's like, it's,
Not useful.
yeah, it's not, it's not.
Again, for
like-
park, it's the use of
Find it.
outdoor space
We're looking at it from our perspective, which is parks and
and
public
public space.
spaces.
and the environment, so maybe there might be pushback on some of the outdoor heating.
If it's environmentally.
If it's like an
friendly.
environmentally limited way and making sure that the panes of the glass are insulated to something we haven't studied yet in our environmental segment of our evening about how to
Good point.
best
So just
keep
we asked that question.
air conditioning
Sure that-
together.
that They don't wanna pay a big electricity bill, so I'm sure they've thought about it, that the windows are going to
Some
be.
kind of solar.
We can ask now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you given any consideration to the environmental capacity of the windows?
Or just energy efficiency.
The energy efficiency, because you're retrofitting an outdoor structure to be an indoor structure, I imagine that the loss both of heat and cooling in the seasons is probably pretty extreme. Have you given any thought to the environmental footprint and energy consumption of that to reduce the impact?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely we're looking at IGUs or insulated glass units, for these. These will be high performing units that that will do their best, I mean, the advantages are that we also have the park and trees to the south. So in the summer that creates shade, so you're not getting as much direct sunlight. And then in the winter, there's no, the leaves are down, so it allows for more light. So we'll be taking advantage on the backside of sort of passive strategies with that in mind. And then, we have to adhere to certain energy efficiency goals with the Parks Department as well and DOB.
Mandy, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry if this is a publicly known fact, but what is the current usage of the roof of the pavilion? And is there any opportunity for solar panels or other structures up there?
There's no use up there currently. We haven't talked about solar panels on this project yet.
All right, is that something that we might wanna ask
That would be something to
about?
add.
Okay. And how about this language? 'Cause I really would like to get us onto the next programming thing so we can get out of here in 20 minutes. Looking at environmentally green sustainable strategies for energy, something resiliency, and solar alternative passive structures, insulated windows. Stuff. Yeah.
But I'm.
So, and that kind of, and then like green roof design and, yeah, okay, and bringing in other expertise on that. Do we want to include something about encouraging community use of space?
No, because it's.
And
not
reiterating.
relevant. I mean, it's true, but it's not germane to really it's not relevant to what we're really talking about, but. I mean.
It's not immediately relevant, but it is sort of the follow-up to what we saw before. So I do think raising it as a question of whether or not we want to include it is valid, but it's a group decision of whether or not we reach consensus. Of
I
what
think describe,
what did you have language you wanted to propose to include?
They're open to it, why wouldn't we not include
Yeah, I mean, we've already discussed it. It's in the transcript, just
other
Well,
than to
who's
say that
agreeing-
it's public
who's
and
agreeing to
open
this?
space.
The operator.
Other than to say that.
Well, I mean,
and
well,
it's
let's, hold on, man, I don't know.
Not
May I just make a
crosstalk.
comment about it?
Yeah, sure.
It's our building, like, it belongs to us. They are using the space because we're recommending that they should be using it. But it is a public building, it belongs to the park, it belongs to people. So this is not like, I think it's just a good idea to reiterate it, that they have agreed to, if we're talking about all these other things, I don't see why not. It does have to do with the design of the space because it's about the capacity of the space to hold a meeting, the capacity of the space to hold an event. And again, as CB5, number one, we have this lovely office, and that's about it, like in terms of actual space. So, it would be nice, if, it'd be great to hold parks meetings there. There's no reason why we couldn't. What if they're closed on Tuesdays or Monday nights or something? we could say, hey, we want regular parks meetings there. I think repeating that as often as possible, well, because it's right next to my house, I'll be really glad to hold the meetings there, but I'm sure it also looks a lot nicer.
Just to wrap this up, I will say that a little bit of history we talked about when we saw this matter for the first time is that the history of the pavilion, specifically going into a private licensed use. There was a really big
Right. As we should-
community, there
as
was a
we
lot
should-
of community uproar about it because having it be licensed at all for a private commercial use was a really big deal. There was a lawsuit. It was
And it's
a lot
very
because
recent.
because it was a public space, because it is a public building and it was not seen as the best use. A lot of that sort of concern has died down a little bit in the community.
They died.
And
Really?
as a result, I think that we've enjoyed and we determined that having it used 6 months out of the year is one thing. But in that first use, there were some concessions in one of those original agreements that also said that the community would use the space. That was several operators ago, but in that initial agreement, there was a thing about having the public space, whether or not it's with nonprofits. Some of that had to do with using the space for the Union Square Partnership Gala. Ed, if you're still on the call, you might be able to correct me on that. Though I don't think that you were at Union Square Partnership at that time. But some of that is sort of like consistent with a nonprofit, which is, I guess, us using a space or us or someone else. So we can have some language of community use of the space, which the operator and their initial proposal was already voluntarily doing stuff that I believe they do out in McCarran Park of lots of community events. So it is sort of like a community hub, but it's almost park-like, despite the fact that it's commercial, and that was part of their presentation. So under those grounds, it would be consistent with our past resolutions, prior agreements, and the history of this particularly contested space. So it is not out of the question that it would be something to be raised, even in the most recent thing.
Just because we
Sorry.
haven't seen it recently being used for community use does not mean historically it was a public space, there was no
Okay,
restaurant.
Ed, you're back. I've summoned you from off camera, so.
You know what, I would defer to Parks on that one. I think it's possible that Tony or Jeremy might know. I don't recall if there was any agreement on public use.
Okay, I just remember it being in one of the articles I read about the lawsuits that it had said that the public could use a certain number of nonprofit days for the space.
See, I don't think the issue is. I have no problem with having a discussion and a resolution on public use. I'm just saying, it seems to me that's a whole separate hearing, there are a whole lot of issues. Do we have the right certain days to do that?
I think we can just memorialize within it.
Right, but I'm just saying seems to be a completely separate resolution
My take
from
on,
design of a space. I'm not objecting to anything anyone has said. I'm just saying, it just seems like it's apples and oranges to me. I
my
don't see
take-
where the.
my take on that is just that we use all of these are steps towards the pavilion going live.
Right.
We use every step when they come to us to reiterate what we want, reiterate what we want. So at no point the ball gets dropped. I mean, we don't really have to have this hearing on the design, to be honest, right? I mean, it's not a landmark space. Like we can say, hey, instead of the green, make it a beige or make it a gray or whatever, it's like, but the priority in my mind for this committee is it's a public space. Make it as useful to the public as possible, so that we have year-round use. It was a public space before it was a restaurant.
Then it should be a whole different resolution. You should say, okay, instead of having 17 feet, we should have 30 feet. And we should have a whole section for conferences and meetings and what have you. It seems to me that's a whole different discussion. It's my point here. I'm not objecting to anything you're saying, but if you're saying, okay, we want a place for the community board to meet, then it seems to me we're talking about, well, why not build a whole separate wing? Why can't we take over part of the basement and convert that into a conference room or something? I guess, it just seems to me, I mean, whatever you all want, but I'm just saying, it just seems like,
My 2 cents on that, just that.
and one other point.
Yeah.
Who is this resolution being directed to?
To the Parks
Being
Department.
sent to? Right, okay.
So
So
this is the
Parks
Parks Department, but
Department-
it's going to sort of everyone in general. It's also just the
But think.
general
So we're
position.
telling the park department.
Okay, so
that-
frequently
that
we
the-
can,
The restaurant.
this is just an
has to
update.
have
This is an update
meetings.
on our prior resolution that we already did, where we
Right.
covered a lot of this
Right.
stuff, so we already saw that. We can reiterate what we did on the footprint and the 17 feet, which you brought up in the questioning along with the design. I do think this is just an update on what we said, overall in our prior one, and so some of it has to do with the physical structure, which is more of what like is new, and then reiterating, and then also the advocating at this stage, advocating more for the environmental piece is, I think, a good use of our voice, and our other remit, which wouldn't otherwise be part of like a landmarks aesthetic conversation. But I do, and I can imagine a situation with a different Parks Department where maybe we would hate the design in some way and would find it offensive to the sensibilities of park goers. But I don't think that we found that to be the case here. I mean, I think we can take it to a vote as far as whether or not we want to include that. But Mandy.
Oh, I was just going to suggest similarly, if maybe we just reference the prior resolution that included a lot of these and just in that summary sentence of referring to that prior resolution, state some of those so that we're not making a resolution about it, but we include the reference to that. That's
Okay.
All right, is that workable?
Yeah.
It's amenable. Everyone feels good about that?
We're allowed to do that, right?
To what? To,
We're allowed to do it that way, right? There's no like issue with that sort of structure.
It's a straight conflict.
yeah, I mean, we can kind of do whatever we want.
Then great.
Again. It's whether or not we structure it in a way that we get listened to, but I think that here the operator is already amenable to it, which is very generous and we appreciate, and that was what the proposal had come with. So we can talk about how this is part of what they wanted to do anyway. Okay, good. Everyone feel good?
Yeah.
We're voting?
So you do a vote,
Do I have a motion?
motion,
Let's hear it. Motion.
okay. So,
Can you tell us what the motion is?
yes,
Okay.
the motion would be to approve, the design of the pavilion, in light of, the need to enclose the area for year-round use. We will, we can specify that, that the design, well, that the operators have again reiterated, reiterated that the signage will be, both seating and for restrooms, being accessible to everyone without purchase. That we encourage them to have year-round outdoor seating with heating so that we can get year-round use for the space. That they are also amenable to accommodating community use, for the new enclosed space.
But they brought that forward in their original proposal and they've committed to, being amenable to community uses.
Community use, yeah, and then
Fine.
we encourage them to consider the use of the roof for solar panel, did we say that? Okay, and that,
Solar, other green uses,
Solar panel,
we
that's
appreciate the
okay.
passive use of green. Like sustainability, like the integration within the already existing landscape.
and that that they are also giving due consideration to energy efficiency for the enclosed building, including insulated glass units. Et cetera. That's
Okay.
okay.
Thanks.
All right. John,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
John Harris,
Yes.
Libby.
Yeah.
Mike Kabak,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
a yes, Mandy.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much
Thanks,
for
everybody.
coming and presenting and the design, and I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. And thank you for being so welcoming to the community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next up, 34th Street Partnership. Please introduce yourself for the record, and we'll have a discussion of annual programming. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Please let me know if you can't hear me. I'm not usually an earpods person, so hopefully it's working.
We got you loud and clear. Thank you.
Wonderful. I am Rachel Zurier. I'm the Vice President of Constituent Services here at 34th Street Partnership. And I have for you a summary of new and exciting things coming to our public spaces this spring and summer. So roughly from the months of now through October. And then we usually come to you guys separate for holiday market, etc. In November. Or well, we come before November, but that's kind of the dividing line. Okay, so I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if this works. One second. I did not know that I did not have screen share enabled in my system settings. One second. Okay. I'm afraid I briefly have to leave and come back in order to do this. I wish I had been able to time this before. I'm sorry. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay. No.
No, sure.
No, we're fine. All right,
Maybe there's-
members of the public, hold just one moment. That's from my screen.
Yeah, so just open it up.
I don't, they've got their own presentation.
It's the same one that we have, right?
They sent it to me.
It's in the shared folder.
She's coming back.
For what it's worth, I can think that the also read it this year.
Or did he just upload there?
He just edited.
Before the meeting.
You still can't see him?
No, I see the new folder was created, but I can't see anything in that folder.
Okay, I will flag that. Thank you.
I have it. See it. There one.
Great, we can see the slides. And if you just
Great.
want to describe them for people who might be vision impaired who are on the call
Yep.
too, that would be
Can
thank you.
do. Okay. So sorry about that brief delay. I know that it is late and I will go quickly. Okay, so just a quick reminder, 34th Street Partnership is a BID that covers a swath of Midtown, roughly bordered by 10th Avenue on the west side, Park Avenue on the east side, 36th Street on the north side, and 31st Street on the south side with some kind of cutouts there. But the public spaces that we manage are more central than that. So we take care of the Broadway bow tie, which is the former roadbed of now pedestrianized Broadway between 36th Street and 32nd Street, as well as Plaza 33, which is a public space in the kind of Penn District area between 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue on 33rd Street. And then we are recently taking care of the Farley Post Station steps, which we've sort of turned into a programmed public space. I won't really talk about Farley because it's not in the community board, but happy to answer any questions you've got. It just won't be part of my presentation. Okay, so I'm sure that you all know that there is a new public plaza on the Strip. So Broadway between 35th and 36th Streets was, fully made a plaza block as of last fall. And it's getting the full treatment by DOT in the coming weeks. Hopefully, really any day now it could start, and they'll put down their epoxy gravel layer and make all of the finishes that you see in other parts of the stretch of Broadway. And then we'll bring in umbrellas, tables, and chairs, so it feels much more like a real plaza. Right now it has the edge objects, or it will soon have the edge objects, but it really just feels kind of like a street, and it's not totally clear what's going on there. We have some barricades set up. We're already doing programming there, but it's, we're excited for it to feel more like a sister plaza to all the other ones that we manage in this space. We have some exciting and improved seating coming to Greeley Plaza, which is the stretch of Broadway between 32nd and 38th, excuse me, 32nd and 33rd Streets. We just have always felt like this plaza, which was previously the newest of the bunch, was a little overlooked. It's, you know, obviously the Marquee Plaza is the one in front of Macy's, but people sometimes forget about Greeley, and we really wanted to give it some love this spring. So you'll see all new umbrellas. There's going to be 4 on the north side of the plaza, 4 on the south side. They're large rectangular umbrellas that provide ample shade, in addition to the complement of octagonal umbrellas that you'll see in the center of the plaza on this diagram. We also have a modular stage that we started experimenting with in the fall, and it's back in the spring. So this is what it looks like this morning. That stage is a series of pieces, so it can easily be moved if anything requires it. But you know, we want it to be a publicly used seating space when it's not in use for a free public performance. And then this picture is taken under the northern set of umbrellas looking south, and you can see the octagonal umbrellas in the foreground and the additional rectangular umbrellas in the background. And this is from the south looking north. So even with the kind of not so gorgeous temps of the last couple days, it's definitely getting use. That first picture with no one sitting in it was taken at like 8 in the morning, but this is a lunchtime crowd, and we're excited for how this will really plus up this well-used seating space. As for programming, this slide is intentionally chaotic, don't worry. We've done a little bit of rebranding. Programming is very much our thing. We love it and we do a lot of it, but we found it challenging to market our programming to all of the wonderful people who live, work, and play in this area. And so we did a little bit of a rebrand this year to simplify the offering, make it clear what people can actually come do at all of these programs that have such different names. So we sort of sorted everything into 4 different buckets, which we're calling Midtown Dance, Midtown Music, Midtown Fit, and Midtown Meetups. So instead of having 17 different graphic identities for all these programs, there will be 4. And also we will be able to easily cross-promote. If you go to a performance that happens, you know, under the Golden Hour program headline, you'll be able to see information about all the other music programming that we do. It's pretty straightforward, but hopefully the straightforwardness makes it easy for people to catch on and come to more things. And I will say I'm very open to comments about better promoting our events. I think for 34th Street, we increasingly have a more residential area, but still I think we struggle to reach people who live in the community board and the district around, and all of our programming is, you know, free, and often we're offering things that people do pay for in studio settings and, you know, classroom settings. So always interested in comments on how we can better promote. So more on that possibly in the feedback part of this. We have a few new things coming, and I'll talk more about them, but this is a few of the new things coming. And I will say that I know that Ed spoke a little bit about permitting. We have been following the same guidance as Union Square Partnership in that anything that we've done in the past, we can do again this summer. And so, you know, we may not have specifically done a K-pop dance class in the past, but we've done a dance class in the past. And so we're interpreting that a little bit broadly, but, you know, the new things happening this summer are all in the style of things that have already been done and permitted. So this is a look at under each of those colorful headlines, and I should have included a key here, but yellow is the Midtown Meetups category, pink is the Midtown Music category, purple is Midtown Dance, and red is Midtown Fit. These are all the different things happening and how they stretch across the year. We try to have a good breadth of programs that last a whole season. And I should say, if you see something that's going straight from May through September, it doesn't usually mean it's a daily program. I think the exception is Midtown Music does happen probably 5 days a week, but most of them are weekly programs happening at certain days or times in a consistent weekly basis. And some of them are a little less frequent, like monthly or bi-weekly. Some exciting new things I wanted to highlight. So chair yoga, we kicked off in fall of last year, did sort of a pilot with this partner, and it went really well. So it's especially helpful for people who are new to yoga or feel less comfortable with yoga in a public setting, because you don't have to go down on the ground. You're just sitting on a chair, but it's actually kind of amazing how decent a workout it is, given that you're sitting the whole time. I really would recommend it. So that's going to run for 4 months this summer. We're also going to do a series of textile art workshops on Tuesdays, August 4th and 25th. And I don't have exact timing for that yet. I think we're still hammering it out with the partner. And then we're bringing a K-pop version of our dance class series, trying to tap in a little more to the Koreatown audience on the southern side of our district. We haven't done a lot of partnership or intentionally trying to target the large Korean immigrant audience. And we're excited to try to tap more into that. So we have a great local dance studio as our partner. And we'll be excited to see how that series goes. And a few more things. We're trying to do more things for families. Historically, I mean, the BID has been programming for, it was founded in 92. I don't think it's been programming that entire time, but probably at least 20 years of programming. And I don't think we've done a great job historically at reaching families. It's just not been our focus. So we're, especially with, Midtown South mixed use, you know what I'm talking about, with the increase in MSMX. With adding new residents in the area, we know we will have more families out and about, and with not a lot of family-oriented public space stuff going on broadly in this area, we want to start dipping our toe in that field. So we're doing a partnership with Bike New York in April. It's almost wrapped up. The last one is this coming weekend. We have a lot of people bringing their brand new bicycles that they got for Christmas and want to learn how to ride. We're doing that on the Plaza block. I mentioned 3.5 to 3.6 on Broadway. That's not really plaza-ified yet, but we have barricades around, and it's really, what better place to learn to ride a bike than a closed block of a street. So that's where we're doing that. We're also bringing back, we used to have during COVID, one of the only things anyone felt safe doing was giant bubbles, because it was literally soap and flew through the air. So we have a new partner for that that's coming back. It's going to be weekly. And then we're working with Bindlestiff, which is a tried and true New York City public space partner, to do a kids circus session on a Saturday in July, and hopefully more in this direction. And lastly, just wanted to give a tip. I know that sometimes in the past when I've come and presented, people have said, okay, what days and times are all these things? And that's a good point. I didn't want to go through every single program and say days and times, because we'd be here for a while. But if you go to 34thstreet.org, you click on things to do, it will give you a little date selector, and you can also choose a category, and it'll show you exact dates and times. Within any series, it'll give you a page that shows that full series and all their dates, and it'll suggest other things that you might want to see. So definitely suggest that you check out our website. If you want to know specific dates and times, we're also happy to provide, for anything that the community board wants to know about when it's happening. But just for ease of the presentation, I didn't include all the dates and times. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions about anything. And in general, we'd love to have suggestions from you all about ways that we can get more neighbors out to these events.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It will save my comments for later, but first, questions from the committee about the programming. Michael,
I can go back to a more summative slide. There we go.
Hi, Rachel. Nicely done. Thank you.
Hi,
I
Michael.
look forward to seeing you at a lot of these events like last time. So I have
You
a
too.
couple of questions.
Sure.
Now, you didn't specify if they're going to be at the Greeley or at the Macy's Herald. So I'm going to look on 34thstreet.org to find out where. Thank
That
you
is
for
correct.
that.
I will say the majority of what I talked about is happening in the plazas, not the parks. Just because there's a lot more space.
Yeah, in the plaza,
Those are some
but
really tiny parks.
Right.
But yeah,
So
I think the website's a good place to go.
that's what I'm going to do. But Dance 33rd, that's good. Dance is going to be between by the Long Island Railroad exit over there with the canopy. Dance.
You're talking about
Dance.
Plaza 33.
Yes. Dan?
No, the dance lessons primarily, we experimented a little doing dance in that space last summer. I think we just found it was a really, even though the foot traffic is wonderful and there was a lot of visibility, we had some challenges with just the layout of that space and providing sufficient
You took it
pedestrian
away from there and
passage.
you're putting it where?
Greeley. Most of the dance stuff is happening in Greeley, 32 to 33 on Broadway.
Okay, a golden hour. What time is the golden hour?
That is
mentioned
usually it's
something
a
was happening-
sunset. It's a sunset program. I think it kicks off around 6:30 or 7, and runs until 8:30 or 9.
Okay, now one last thing. You're not gonna believe this, but today I was in front of Macy's just before I came here. And there was a whole big rigmarole going on. You probably didn't even realize this. And some Paris Hilton thing was going on. Usually that kind of stuff comes before us, but I don't remember hearing anything about that Paris Hilton extravaganza that we saw today in front of. Is there any reason why, or did I just miss it? It didn't come before us.
Libby, do you want to respond or should I?
No, I did not see that come through the office. I know that there was a different agenda item that I was sad to hear was not included on the agenda tonight about a helicopter giving out ice cream, but
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, historically we've come to present commercial activations in the parks, but not in the staple plazas. I don't actually know why, but I know that that's historically how it's gone.
I think some of that has to do with the turnaround time because of our meeting structure, but this is a conversation that we've had internally here that I think that if it would be possible for you guys to send it, even though I know that you're not soliciting a lot of these events, that some of them are just coming on your inbound for you, even though it's not you in partnership. I think that just having more of a heads up if those are happening, I think would be very helpful. Not that we would hear a lot of them if they're in the plazas. I think we do focus more on the park space as it's reserved, versus the plazas where we're very excited to be, slowly commandeering additional space for public use. But I think that hearing more of that, and if you would be able to just give us a heads up of what's happening, because sometimes those get added to the SAPO portal pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
if you get more information, I think that they talk to you more than they talk to us, but that's something that we would love to partner with you more on. I think that we've certainly for some of the larger ones too. I think there was a fashion show last year that we didn't hear about, and various trucks that come and are fairly routine but pretty large. And I think just having more of a heads up from the bid would go a long way towards making the community board feel a little bit more included and aware of the process.
So we
Sure,
don't
I
have
can take that back to our
Yeah,
events
we don't
team.
have to, we won't have to see it. But as long as if there's something that, but as long as there's something that, if it raises some flags, like the flash mob one, for example, was something that there was some concern about with congestion, so we heard that one in advance. But I think that just having a heads up and having that come through the office and then, it can be declined at the,
There were hundreds of
discretion.
people.
It can be declined at the discretion of the chair and.
I'm sorry, can you all see me? I can't.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I think everything is resolved. It just cut out for a second. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Okay. Sorry,
Thank
I'm not
you.
sure what happened there, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And yes, noted about, I will bring that back to, I don't personally work on the commercial event side of things, but I'm happy to share that with Kelly and the other folks that you know from other commercial activation presentations.
Yeah. Okay, questions? Catherine.
So my question, can you have more bike? It seems to me that the bike programming would be family oriented as well as something really needed in the middle of Midtown in terms of both the lessons, the education. How to ride a bike in Midtown is its own unique thing in my view, but I just wanted to know, are you gonna be planning more bike? And do you take input from the public on your programming? Like, is there a place on your website? Or is there signage somewhere that says, tell us what you want to see in Greeley Square or something like that?
Yes. So first on the bike lessons, absolutely, we'd love to do more. This was the first time we'd worked with this partner, and we just had no idea if anyone would be schlepping their bikes to Macy's to, or Herald Square to learn to ride a bike, or if parents would think that was safe, or what even would, be. But we've been really pleased with the turnout. I think the first week we had over 30 kids come. So we definitely will be expanding that program. I think you could see a session later in the summer, definitely the fall. It's really about the availability of the partner, because we are not ourselves teaching people to ride bikes. We're working with Bike New York. So, but I know that they're eager and excited to do more. And the last time we're working with them in the spring is Car Free Earth Day. So we're going to, be activating as part of Car Free Earth Day this coming weekend.
Also, just to confirm, you will come to us with more of the permits, just to close that loop when you get them, right, from SAPO?
Yes, yeah, I was trying to say that, and I got cut off by my internet, but I am going to
kind of close the loop on that to make sure the tech didn't.
Yeah, I'll talk to the events team about what makes the most sense. It may be, I mean, the thing is that if meetings are spaced, X number of weeks apart, but we hear about something in the interim, you're thinking like an email, like what does notification mean to you?
Sending us an email of like, hey, XYZ things are on the agenda, like none of these are that big, or like this is a repeat, basically close to like what our questionnaire is. If they're like sort of major events, especially, just so that we at least have like a record of them in the office of what that is and how it aligns with our questionnaire. And I think that going forward, we are looking at some of the environmental sort of tracking piece of it for resiliency items. So that may also be something that we're curious about, even if we don't hear it, that's something we want to have tracked. But I think for right now, just our current questionnaire items connected with it, which I don't think is too cumbersome. It's mostly just what's on the application that they've already submitted. But if you guys have any additional questions for them or have gotten information, I know that I've gone back and forth with Kelly on some stuff that then we've declined to hear. And that's just been really helpful from our perspective. And sort of feeling a little bit of that like outside of the sightlines of meetings, but still within the, public realm and office.
Sure, yeah, I will absolutely take that back. And I think you guys will work out, probably you and Kelly or someone else and Kelly will work out what makes sense in terms of how much information and what frequency and stuff. But yeah, that totally makes sense to me. And then to answer your other question, Catherine, we are very open and excited to hear anyone's programming ideas. Some of my favorite programs have come from people reaching out and saying, have you tried this thing? And our email is info@34thstreet.org. We have a real person check it every day and someone responds. We have a real person answer the phone too. So really trying to be open to any ideas. It's not always possible. And sometimes, people want to do programs that promote their personal brand or whatever it is. But generally, if someone wants to do free programming and it seems like it's going to work, we usually are willing to try.
Thank you so much. Okay, additional questions, and then I just want to keep mindful of the time. John Klein.
So yeah, looking at the calendar that you have on the website, and just kind of for some of the busier times in like June and July, I noticed there's 51 events in June and 40 some in July. How are you thinking about just kind of scheduling? I know one of the conversations that we've had in the committee is making sure that public space isn't being overutilized for events and people can just have some time to chill. And that in mind also with the World Cup, given that Penn Station is in the partnership area and there will be just a lot of other kind of like traffic and stuff going to and from the games and other events that probably, many other people are having. Just how are you thinking about, I guess, keeping the volume of scheduling you have and trying to also allow for passive use of the space?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I think, so yes, there might be, a few dozen events in a given month, but each event might last an hour or 2 hours and happen once, twice, maybe 3 times a week. So I think overall, you're looking at many more unprogrammed hours than programmed hours. However, I do think, I wouldn't I would be lying if I said I didn't believe that programming in these spaces is really important. I think, especially in these sections of Midtown where there's so much going on, some of these friendly face type of classes and activities, I think, add a safety element to what otherwise can feel like sometimes, I don't know, under-regulated spaces with a lot going on, a lot of illegal vending on our sidewalks. And I think that having, you know, an organized class or activity that does not usually take up the entire plaza does add to the feeling of safety in our neighborhood. So I while saying that we don't do programming 100% of the time 24/7, I do want to advocate that it's an important part of how we manage the public space in our district.
Additional questions? Myrna?
And, oh, so one more thing on the America 250 and the World Cup. We're hopefully, you know, I think our approach to it has not been to do less. It has been to continue a pace. We're probably not doing more than we would do in an average summer, but we're eager to hopefully have more participants and more people experiencing our district for the first time and jumping in on something that they are surprised and delighted by. But you know, we're hoping for more foot traffic in a good way for all of the, you know, businesses in our area, but not reducing our programming in response to it.
Okay, Myrna?
I see that you guys are refurbishing the furniture, you're putting in new umbrellas. Is there also extra seating that's gonna be going in?
Yes, we have hundreds more chairs and tables coming on a shipping container that I believe arrives in May from France. That's where all of our furniture originates. But yeah, we will be fully populating the new plaza block and replenishing the seating in the other plaza blocks as we do every spring, because it definitely, our chairs and tables walk away. And I wish I knew where they all went, but I do not.
And then I think you mentioned you're not in charge of commercial programming, but that's one of the things that we want to be mindful of, considering everything else that is going on. And then there's, you know, non-commercial programming. Like, how much commercial programming, just ballpark, are you planning to have in that April to October period? So how many events do you ballpark that for us? Do you estimate having?
Well, so there's this embargo on, I think, large commercial events during the World Cup. So June through July, I'm guessing we won't see much in the way of commercial events. It's a little hard to figure out what the city's doing because all of our permitting so far they've had us apply for, but they're not guaranteeing which dates we can get. And it's sort of, I'm sure you know, it's sort of up in the air.
I'm gonna ask about that. How much difficulty have you had in getting permits for things?
It was sort of unclear what was happening for a little while, but now I feel pretty confident that anything that resembles programming that we've done before, we'll be able to get a permit for. I think if we were proposing, we're not proposing any watch parties at this time. I think something that looked very different from something we'd done before would be more challenging is the sense I get.
Sorry,
But a question on that, you've also done, there have been Knicks watch parties, which aren't all that different. So from the
Yeah, the Knicks watch parties in Plaza 33, I mean, so they're happening outside that period of World Cup embargo.
Right now.
Right, they're happening right now. They're happening as we speak. So
And
yeah,
I'm
and they were
listening.
done last year. We actually have worked a lot with MSG to try to make those a more controlled situation this year than they were last year. So we had the first one on Sunday. I heard a really good report from our security, no damage to planters or furniture. So
Because they won.
hoping for a continued, yeah, it's because they won. I think actually the craziest one was when they won, not when they lost. So I'm hoping for a continued clean report.
Sorry, coming back to my question. So
Yes, your question
how
was
much
about
movement-
frequency, and I do not know off the top of my head, but I'm just thinking the Herald Plaza in front of Macy's. I think we usually see something like a dozen commercial events there a spring, summer. So between April and October, maybe 10. That sounds right to me, but I can get a summary and send it over to the office.
And you're planning to do far less this time because there's gonna be an embargo from.
Well, we
from
sort
J-
of, we have incoming interest and then, you know, the event sort of happens. So we don't really know if it's going to be more or less busy, but what we're hearing from the city is that they're going to be choosing carefully about event permits during the World Cup period. And I think it's about police resources is what I am understanding.
Thanks.
Additional questions on annual programming or summer programming? Okay, seeing none. Any comments from the public? Nope. Comment from the public. Charles Nye, you're recognized.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Hopefully.
Yes.
Yes, so well, first of all, I'd like to thank the 34th Street Partnership who have helped me to attend events in the past and really went above and beyond with accessibility. I think there was a question about trying to gather feedback about how to use the space to, you know, try to appeal to families. And I just wanted to give a quick input. I was thinking maybe like computer coding workshops or animation workshops or robotics workshops could be done, and maybe like a college could get involved with, maybe a local college could get involved with doing that type of workshop for families, because, you know, young people are into that. And then I was thinking maybe even having some sort of talent like showcase where, you know, maybe some young people's bands that want to perform or something, maybe during the summer period, maybe they could have a chance to show their talents. So that was some ideas I had. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for sharing. I will say one of our programs is an open mic night that I think it's called Big City Folk, which is one of the music programs that happens once a week. So a little bit like a talent show, but I will take these other ideas back. I think there's something with robotics that could be really cool. Generally with programming, what we're trying to do is something that both attracts people to participate and also looks visually engaging. So things with computers, and I think we have to think about what's the visual element that says something is happening here and gets people excited to wander by and participate.
Definitely, I would love to ideate with you on that more. Okay. Any other members of the public would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll take us into business session. How are you feeling about the programming, size, scope, scale, timing?
Oh, I had a quick comment. The website, when you click things to do, I think it only shows you events for that day as the first screen. Is it possible, or maybe I would recommend either seeing all the events or seeing that week's events or something more little confusing if you're clicking on things to do and it's on one event that comes up.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Hang on. So if you go to, let me see if I can.
I think you have to click like this month or search everything in order to see everything.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's a good point. And I think also on a day where more is going on, it might look a little different. Like we're still in the shoulder season, so there's not actually that much to do at this exact moment. But yeah, I think our website is definitely not perfect, so I will bring that feedback back.
All right. Comments? Sean, Klein.
I mean, I was looking through the calendar and I think there are, just in terms of compared to like some of the other conversations we've had around Event Low, that it does feel like there's a lot of events, but they are centralized on certain days, like Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday tend to have like 4 events each day. So I think that is a decent balance between leaving other days for passive time. I would be interested to see what's happening with just once more of the World Cup schedule stuff comes out, because I feel like, I mean, especially with Music Row just everywhere is going to be doing everything, and I don't know if we as the Parks Committee have a really strong opinion about that, or if we're just like
I don't know how much of a say we're gonna have in a certain amount of these things.
or if it's just like, you know, stuff's gonna be happening all the time everywhere. And great.
I will stay tuned. Myrna.
So one of the things that's unique about this space is that now we're looking at a space that is an amalgamation of pedestrian plazas and parks. And because of the way the rules are written, you know, we see the park stuff when the pedestrian plaza stuff goes missed. And we're starting to run into some of the issues with Broadway south of there as well. You know, like just the whole stretch that runs into Union Square as well. I think we need to figure out a way to look at the whole space and the programming in the space in a more holistic manner, as opposed to, oh, we only look at this because that space is green and it's a park, and then this space is beige and it's a pedestrian plaza, and so there are different rules that apply. We need to, and I don't know what a good way to go about it is, but in my mind, it's the same space.
Well, I think that has to do with the getting more aligned with the way that the SAPO permits come in and what's in plazas, but I think that more coordination between the bid, whether it's 34th Street or the other bids.
In this case, the bid is in charge of both the parks and the pedestrian plazas.
Well, I mean,
So
but that's
that's-
also, but there's still like sort of the pedestrian plazas that have to do with like other parks too, that are connected. And I think that we're working on some of that, but I also think that to the extent that we're reviewing our questionnaire at some point after our commercialization task force, which is meant to include plazas, has come through, I think that we definitely probably as a committee don't want to be seeing every single commercial activation.
Yeah.
I think that we need to have some sort of system for it, but I definitely agree. I think that's part of it, of the overall activities and the feeling of being out in the space. I do think that we should memorialize better communication and agreement to, like, that piece of it should go into a resolution. I think that should be memorialized on top of whatever we feel about the programming. I personally would love to see lots of positive encouragement about the kids stuff. I think that's awesome. I think that that's like super fun and engaging, and even if you don't have kids, like, I think seeing joyful, fun things happening is a really great use of our space. Especially when town south rezoning, especially when we don't have as many activities and offerings for children in our district, which has come up a lot in our committee as well. There aren't really playgrounds. I think that that's a great use of those streets. Are there other specific items about the programming that we want to see? Most of it's the same stuff as before. We've got our jugglers, our faves. We love the
Like I
bubbles.
said already, the bike, I really.
Yeah, I really think the bike stuff we should highlight, and the kid stuff. I think
Even
that's
if
worth
they
a
did
call out.
you know, some of the,
And I'm just listing.
I don't know which,
programming.
some of the council offices have, even if they could collaborate to do a, helmet distribution.
Yeah. I think all of that is
See
good,
that.
but
I
yeah,
remember them doing it.
I know people who have like a DOT one, but that's from a different type of thing.
DOT, right?
Anything else that anyone else would like to see included in this? I think we're generally feeling pretty positive towards the programming. I think that we'd like better communication and kid stuff. Do I have a motion? Do I have any changes?
Yeah, it is a motion. I motion that we approve.
Second.
Great. Shall we take it to a vote?
Sean Klein.
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
John Harris.
Yes.
Ruby.
Yep.
Mike Kavak.
Yes.
Yes.
Christopher.
Yes.
Todd. Todd.
We can't hear you, Ty.
I don't think we can see him either.
That's John said, right? Can you hear me?
So no Todd?
Yes. You hear me?
We couldn't hear or see you. We were worried.
Wait a second. Yes.
Oh, we got you, Pat. All right.
All right, motion passes.
Okay. Rachel, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for passing on that stuff. We can offline Yumi and Kelly about how to handle some of those things for
Sounds
the
good.
application permits. Amazing. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
So-
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thanks for bearing with us. Okay, so next up on our agenda is a little bit of a check-in on our environmental items to see how they're going. We're gonna have a little bit more of the research presentation from Julia. She is sick tonight, so I won't be here. Gail had a little bit to say, but I did just want to like check in as we head into like after this cycle, it'll be our last cycle before our break. Because our August break is actually happening in July, which gets confusing and weird, so maybe there's actually 2 more meetings before that. I have to do the math, but we're approaching that. I would love to have some sort of environmental item come through this committee as we take on this role this year. And what that looks like, I'm open to, but figuring out what support of legislation or projects we want to take on and taking a little bit more of a focus there. Also, the way we discussed of having our little like guide for all items with Gail.
I think that's the big thing, honestly, because I think we all get a lot of park stuff here, not a lot of environmental stuff yet, just because there's so much great programming. So I think there's a big opportunity, like obviously bring up environmental topics here. But really one thing I was looking into is like, instead of maybe approaching it that way, where it's like in this committee, maybe there's certain guidelines of how other committees face that we could sort of like help them facilitate, because a lot of these things touch a lot of other committees. So like digging a lot into the stormwater management, a lot of that has a big opportunity to touch POPs, especially with Midtown South Bank zoning. And a lot of that has a possibility to touch transportation, because there's certain things you could do with like elevated fence and extra stairs for subway entrances. You don't really touch that. So like, even though we want to drive environmental benefits here, I almost wonder if it'd be more useful to kind of come up with things to help other committees sort of guide them in that focus. So that was sort of my thought, because I did dig into a bunch of, stormwater elements, but I was like, man, where this is most useful is POPs. And like, we don't see POPs, what I mean, that come to us.
We could have, like pass a resolution of like, this is the opinion of this committee, and then to be approved by the board of like, we want these things in this district. Here's our resolution, our opinion, and then we can provide like a kit that then goes out to all the committees. But I think that passing like a resolution of like, here's what we think about stormwater stuff as like a concept, but then also I think simultaneously supporting different legislation that different electeds like are trying to advocate for. I know that when Councilmember Epstein came advocating for more environmental resiliency stuff with the concession agreement for Flatiron Nomad, that was also one for us to talk about, like as we revisit our questionnaire, something that's come up. I don't know what this would look like. Josh said that he's gonna find us some stuff that like maybe is a way to check in as far as like if we're doing the commercial events, we don't have as much control over it. Just like not saying yes, no, just tracking like what's the impact of that event? Like how much fuel are they using? Are they recycling? How much like waste product is being created? They've used that as a metric in the past to determine, was this event big or disruptive? But I'm wondering if we could do it from an environmental standpoint, or like what types of generators, how long were the generators on for? I don't know all the environmental things, but I think that if someone wanted to take that on for the questionnaire, that would be very helpful. And we talked about generators and some of the laws that sort of stalled. I think Mandy and I were talking about this with street vending, and sort of like legislation, but I think that guidelines are gonna be easier to do, and legislation we have a little bit less control over our electeds own agendas. But yeah, I think that if we, through this committee, say like, we want these stormwater things to happen, or this is a problem, we can do more, but.
But do you think it could be like, hey, we provide guidelines to ULURP or not ULURP, to land use, and to like, maybe
Yeah.
we could have some sort of thing where we sort of dig into what other
Yeah.
committees are working on and figure out the crossover, and then sort of develop like some sort of guide that is like, hey, I know, because like, think about POPs, we're always asking for bathrooms, which I think is awesome. But I don't think other environmental things are necessarily what they're thinking about. So like, how can we get, because to me,
Plants and trees and dirt, yes.
plants and trees and dirt and like absorbent pavement, like I think it's obviously great to focus on this committee, but I think it's like, it's the opposite of death by 1,000 cuts. It's like victory by 1,000 Band-Aids. I don't know, like we need to like distribute, I think, information or like guidelines or like proposed guidelines to other committees so that it can start to become a small part of every committee's.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that that is a good way to focus ourselves. I do think we should have like a resolution coming out of this, so the whole board has ratified it before we then like make little toolkits for each committee to then have. Or
So
like
are we able
reference.
to provide a resolution that just says like, we would like to work on
Well, I know, I mean, I think that like,
No,
once we have
absolutely.
content, it'd be like, we have like cloudburst is like, I don't know, like the way that they've done sort of studies on it, like a task force study, but this will just be the committee study of like, these are problems of cloudburst. New Yorkers are getting caught inside of them. XYZ are like different technologies that are beneficial to resolving it and particularly apply to this particular district, but they're solutions that work within our infrastructure or ones that don't. You know, we want to advocate for, we think CB5 should always advocate for XYZ things where it's possible, and maybe more information of like what that looks like. I do think that something we do bump into that's specific that we could ask for to sort of begin with that is sometimes people are required in land use stuff to have trees or street trees. But then our district is our district, so they get into the ground, they go, oops, it's full of a bunch of stuff. We can't have a tree. What we could ask for, in addition to the bathrooms we ask for, is that if you can't plant the tree that you're supposed to plant in front where you're supposed to plant it, can you plant it someplace else?
Or here is what else you can do.
Well, here's what else you can do, A, but B, like, I think maybe it's a both and, you can do that, and you do still have to plant a tree. You do still want trees for, you know, many reasons for all of the city and for all of Manhattan, if we're just gonna stick with Manhattan. But that if you can't plant it someplace else in our district, that then one of the high needs places that, you know, doesn't have the same resources, potentially from like environmental justice, who we came to present, that maybe we can work with that in some way, but do require that it does get planted, that they're not like, oh, sorry, you have a bunch of power lines in the ground. I guess there's no tree anywhere now, but we could require that, but we could also, but like to do that, I think we'd have to like pass a resolution through us. I don't think it should be like 1,000 resolutions to do this. I do think we should start advocating for it internally, and I think we should get full board sign off, but I think moving in that direction with specifics. As like one pathway and the other to have like specific goals for like legislation and start talking to some of the electeds about like what they're working on. I think especially now that we have some electeds who are new and really want to do environmental work, I think that we have a big opportunity here, but yeah. So if anyone wants to fully embody this and move forward with assignments and research projects.
And I can keep researching the stuff I was already researching.
Okay.
Happy to do that.
Street trees and stormwater, water. Yeah, I think I think green and gray infrastructure, I think the questions that we have asked for our presenters thus far have really been asking for a toolkit. I think we may just need to create one ourselves in sort of a series of questions of, is there a bathroom? The way that land use asked for, like, is it a bathroom? The way that SLAP asked, is it a club? I think we can ask. Here are 3 environmental questions that always get asked and everyone remembers, but then beyond that for advocating too. Yeah, no, I think, beyond that, does anyone else have any ideas of how we might want to see this? Anyone want to volunteer to work? John Klein?
On the idea front, would it be too early to start thinking about the district needs statement?
Never too early.
Because
for the
I think
district
that's
meeting.
I guess that's kind of where I'm thinking like the biggest leverage we have on like actual change from an environmental standpoint, even to the point of the like earlier of like the Union Square Pavilion has nothing on the roof. We could put solar panels on there. We could ask for that across any public, city-owned facility in our district or something like that. So I guess that's thinking with the environment lens, looking towards the district needs statement at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that also ties in with what Julie's been researching of like why plants matter. Because at the top of that, it's sort of the argument that you provide for the electeds of like plants reduce anxiety by 25% ahead of a stressful meeting, and your blood pressure is better, and our healthcare needs in our district are, and that type of like structured stuff in the report. I think that that's a great place for it to live, and a great direction for us to go. And then we can kind of have like the little toolkit for everyone to be able to advocate for it. That's a great idea. I know that we asked for the generators, and we were still talking to FDNY on some of the electrical generator stuff. That's still sort of a work in progress in TBD. And some of them they're rewiring pauses.
Just within our work, I think we should take a closer look. I think what often comes up and is sliding by I can remember the programming for the Holiday Village in Bryant Park, and we talked about the vendors having sustainable products, and I think I just didn't have another thing, enough energy to put into that. But it was, it struck me that you were talking about that, and that, I mean, that they're actually, that should actually be embedded in the programming, how each of the parks addresses sustainability and environmental concerns. You know, their view, that they should have some position on environment and sustainability. It's not a given that because they're a park, they're paying attention to
For like the conservancy.
the potential, right? Like, as
The
as
bids
you're
especially are
upgrading
not.
energy sources, are you using, so, you know, are you thinking about solar for lighting? Are there things you should be connecting to a more sustainable environment in the, you know, within the parks? I often say, yeah, and that, you know, I'll just leave it at that. I won't say any, yeah.
Maybe before the next meeting, we can come up with some like just loose questions of what we want to ask, and then we can also then start to backfill with some of the research behind it. But we have some pretty like high level ideas and start to kind of get the shape of something. And then figure out what we want to advocate for on like a lot, especially as like land use things come through. But let's maybe all brainstorm like 3 to 5 questions. Is that a good collective group
And
assignment for
can we
everyone?
put it on one page? It just kind of,
Have a shared document? I
yeah.
don't know,
Are we
from
allowed to
an-
do that?
from an open meeting standpoint, I don't think we are. I think you have to send it to like me and Myrtle, and then we have to discuss it at the next meeting.
But there's a little more wiggle,
We
but
can discuss it at the end after people brainstorm through collective
I think we have the right to.
I think that if it's collaborative,
Brainstorm.
I think if it's collaborative work, if not, I will check with Marisa and we can check with open.
And I'll
Meeting
check
Dog.
too, because I think I was reading
I'll
about
call the
this.
open meeting people. I think that if we're all on a collaborative document, I think that the committee and not a subset of the committee. And because I would like for everyone to participate as opposed to the threshold that would mean that it's not everyone. I actually really want everyone doing the work. Please. But hopefully like slightly different questions that are. a little
Even
bit
if we have to open the page to the public, I don't know, but I do think we can brainstorm in this way. It doesn't make.
I think because it's a public.
50%.
Yeah, I think that even collaborative documents, the same way that you can't all be like, it would be illegal if we were all on a group text message discussing how we're going to vote at a committee meeting. That would not
It's a
be
meeting,
legal.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
the text message group chain would be having a meeting that's not a public meeting, for example, and I think this is a Google Doc version of the same thing. But that said, please email me all of the things or text me. Yeah.
Is it possible to have like a list of all of the questions or topics, and then we prioritize it, similar to how we did the budgeting? and all
Yeah,
that?
so what I have right now, as far as our subcommittee projects, we've got your marketing activation thing, future areas, we've got the pop stuff that just came through. We might want to do more with that and more with requesting stuff that sort of got a little bit dropped with what we want to do with what Ben's project was. And as far as like usability of public space, which isn't really environmental, but it's still public space stuff. And I think that we can advocate the way that we advocated or plan to advocate with land use for different things. We can maybe ask for enforcement guidelines if someone wanted to take that up. I know that was raised. Or environmental things in POP specifically. Some of that crosses over into the other presentation that came to land use. But sort of baseline environmental challenges in the district, we can talk about that. Open space indexes, I've got trees, street trees.
Requesting.
You cannot.
No, you cannot request individual street trees anymore. I'm actually very salty about it, so.
That's
new.
That's news.
Yes.
Okay, that's very
I
interesting.
tried to request them last week, didn't work.
Interesting. We will investigate
What
further.
exactly did they tell you?
If you try to even find the place to do it, it doesn't exist anymore. And if you Google it, they say they have a new approach where they're doing it like based on needs of different areas.
I think we should
Well, it's
advocate
always-
for our
it's-
areas because we have some of the least tree coverage in all of New York,
Yeah.
not just Manhattan. Surface permeability, I think we want to talk about. I think some of the micro mobility, there are opportunities for environmental things within that. But again, I think that your question is like, what environmental things to prioritize? I think that figuring out what's even possible with the environment stuff for some of these locations. And then I've got like a note of like rain garden protection stuff, flower beds, planters, physical stormwater capture and redistribution, which would be a little bit more of like gray infrastructure versus green infrastructure. But I do think gray infrastructure, though DEP normally comes to like transportation or land use, they might still come to us if we want them to present on something. I don't think there are any major projects happening now. But we can advocate for them in our district needs statement, because we do have an impact on the CSOs and the runoff that happens elsewhere, and the waterways are meant to be swimmable fairly soon. That it might be a missed deadline. Bus shelters as gardens I've got a lot of stormwater planning and stormwater capture. What's in the district? How do we impact other districts? What technology exists that make this plan better? I've got the park granite blocks potentially being replaced with stormwater capture from Marble Architects that created one for downtown and Vidai. I've got a question of who could come present to us. Gray water planning, CSO, subways. Yes.
Is this list shared with us or?
This is my list, but I can make a copy of this. There was a separate list that has been lost to a spreadsheet tab of unknown location. This is a more comprehensive one, but the one that was really detailed on the spreadsheet, we're still looking for, we've spent a lot of time looking for. DOT plaza improvements overall, but again, that we need to know what to ask for. And then how, with the vision plan, how we can incorporate that. Air pollution, I've got a lot on air pollution, noise pollution, and then greenways.
There's also light pollution.
Light pollution, yeah, the light pollution, I think there is legislation happening now that we might, at the state level, that we could definitely take a position on,
And
that has to
land
be
use is
more with.
gonna be looking into it as well.
Yeah, I think that light pollution is definitely something we can talk about, as far as like,
And noise.
yeah, downward casting.
General plan.
Yeah, I think the downward casting light stuff is not well understood what the legislation is actually meant to do. But as far as like dark skies and endocrine disruptors and that kind of thing, I think that,
So I think Nancy's got something planned on that,
oh, okay,
probably a presentation from.
we should coordinate
SME,
that.
Yeah, subject matter experts.
Okay,
on
we
that.
should coordinate, since that's, I think, an environmental thing when it comes to wildlife, but also humans, which we care about. But I can share this list, which is it's not as good as the first list was.
It's pretty thorough.
It's less thorough than some of the other items were, but I think that we can do a lot with various types of pollution and stormwater stuff. But figuring out what we want to advocate for and like the art of the possible. And like green roofs, or hey, they can't do something in our district, what else can we ask for? Like figuring out what to ask for, I think is gonna be our biggest, and having all of the committees ask for the same things. And like a consistent, like, here's your little like how-to bookmark card. Yes, I think would be a really good goal. But if we want to come up with some questions for that, again, 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Group assignment.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
all right, good kick out. All right.
Cool.
And then I already did public comment at the beginning of the meeting, right? Ready to do anything, Christopher? We did the full public comment?
We should do public comment at the beginning of the event.
Okay, well, usually when we do it at the
Do
end.
we have any
but-
public people?
Is there any member of the public who would like to speak on a matter that was not discussed during the meeting?
I won't speak, sorry. Just quickly. Parks Task Force, I don't want to spend any time on it really, other than to say we have 243-ish surveys conducted.
Well,
And,
then,
yeah, thanks. We'd like to have 1,000 though, so, well, we need a lot more people involved.
statistically powered.
Yeah, so if anyone would like to just do surveys, you don't have to be on the task force or anything. Feel free to email. It's very easy. You go to the park, you just say hi. Doing 3 surveys or 5 surveys or 1 survey, it doesn't matter how many surveys you do. If you have the ability to do any of them, please let me know. I'll probably try to send a general email to the whole, or I'll have Myrtle send it to the whole committee so that everyone knows like how easy it is. I'll send the QR code and the survey. You can just ask anybody in the parks. As Mike will tell you, it's fun.
Not only is it, I was just gonna comment on your behalf, just to say, my early days of community development, I did a lot of canvassing and surveying vacant lots, and I thought at the time, I'm like, why am I out here in a thunderstorm? Trying to, and some of these places are now actually projects that, you know, you don't know what it's gonna mean to you unless you get out there and do it, but not that you have to have anything to gain, but this city will always teach you something, I'm telling you. So
Fun.
this
Public participation.
I was gonna
Nancy, yeah.
suggest, I think maybe distributing that to the entire board, I think there.
Yeah.
We will ask about.
No, we want the
We wanted
Jewel
to-
and Todd.
Link NYC too.
Well, Link NYC, I mean, Marissa's already done that. You should have seen that.
I haven't.
I have not seen it. on
The mayor
any-
emailed me a picture from
I
Columbus
haven't
Circle
seen
and
it.
several people have told me they've seen it.
I've not seen it on thing. Okay, we still have one public comment moment, guys. Okay. Member of the public comment, Charles Nye, you're recognized and allowed to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I was just wondering if it's possible when you guys use the matrix, you guys use a matrix when it comes to different activations. I was just wondering if there's a way to incorporate how accessible the activation in some of these parks are. I don't know if maybe you guys can work with the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities to come up with some ideas of different things you could incorporate for when you guys do all that tallying up of the matrix. I think you know what I'm talking about when you do the matrix for how noisy an event is or how much trash it might produce or things like that. So I was just wondering, it would really help so that, you know, there's some sort of data on how accessible these different activations in Madison Square Park or Bryant Park, Union Square and all that are. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that suggestion. I think that there is an accessibility line. I don't think it's as built out or as fleshed out, but that's a great idea to work with the mayor's office on a little bit more detail there. Thank you. Okay, and with that, seeing no other members of the public who would like to comment, is there any other new business?
I don't want to tell them about the tour I have this Thursday because I got too many people coming already.
Already too many people for the tour. Is it the Garment District tour?
Yeah,
Well, they better not show up at the button.
I'm gonna tell everybody to go across the street.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you everyone for coming. See you in the second Thursday in May will be our next full board meeting, whatever number day that is, May 18th, okay.
We'll be right over.
Great. Okay, thank you all, good night.
That's what I wanted to make.
All right, that's that. C'est la vie.
It is true. I'm gonna have to miss exactly. I forgot why, that was somewhere. I gotta miss Lane, because I've got Stonewall.
Yeah, you gotta go to the exec anyway.
Right,
But I.
Oh, Myrtle, I'll send you an email so you could send it to her.
Thank you. Good job. 250 responses. That's.
I'm gonna